Just want to let everybody know we're going on YouTube Live. We're going on YouTube Live. We've got about a minute and a half before we start. Just be aware.
I don't have to have it. I say, sure, I don't look, I saw that. Look, I don't know. Just let me know. You got it organized over, Jim? Nope. I'm gonna just look over at Jim. Tasers down. Six. I ain't got that. I looked at it. It's on here, but I didn't figure out what that now.
Judge, I have 9 a.m., sir.
Just am I reading it right?
You are. That's great.
Call this meeting to order. Fiscal Court, November 16th. Here. 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 Thank you very much. Entertain a motion to adopt today's orders. So move. Second.
Mark Riddle,
Yes.
Mark Dickerson,
Yes.
Mark Finler,
Yes.
Mark Bowman,
Yes.
Mark Carter,
Yes.
Mark Howard.
Yes.
Mark White.
Yes. Yes, thank you very much. The indication will be given by District 2 Magistrate.
Let's pray. Most kind and gracious Heavenly Father, Lord, we're about humble before you on this day, giving you the thanks for all the many blessings that you have so generously provided for our county, for our state, and for the United States of America. Lord, we're so thankful for all that you've done for us. Lord, I pray that for all those that are lost, pray for those that are sick, those in need of your comfort and only a way that you can provide for them. Lord, as we enter into the business of the county, I pray, Lord, that you will grant us the ability to open our hearts, open our minds, think clearly, make good decisions for all the people of Barren counties. In Jesus Christ's precious name, I pray.
Amen. The flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome everyone
everyone. Tracy, are you hearing us okay? We'll make sure.
Yes, sir, I do. Thank you.
Well, welcome everyone this morning, elected officials, media. Appreciate everyone being here. Just real quick, someone here is wanting to give a thank you to Mr. Jeff Botts. So if you want to come up and
I can stand right here. I just think, you know, last time I was moving forward, I was frustrated with my previous speaker, at the haunted house, but, Jeff Jones reached out at the meeting, had to pay for it. Jeff Bond, his magical brain, experts came out, I don't know what you all did, but, you know, maybe this is what we used it, it was a total success. When they shipped, and Jeff, and that took over out the board, the line scan downtown business association, the rest of the squad, so we all came together, this was really, actually, you know, thank you, public, because it's really awesome to see somebody say something in a public meeting, and, you know, actually carry out those actions tomorrow, got to love from you.
okay, thank you. All right, entertain a motion to approve the minutes of October 19th, 2021.
So move.
Second. Riddle, second by Master Absence. Any corrections, deletions,
Yes, Judge,
distractions, or additions?
yes, Judge, last meeting, I voted for premium pay in the affirmative. But I'd like to call for another vote on the motion, please.
Need a second.
Well, we have to have a motion and a second to vote.
Say it again then.
I voted in the affirmative for the premium pay on October 19th meeting. Things come to my attention, let us do this, give us time to study this over. So I am calling for a revote.
I make a motion that we have to revote for purposes. I second. Okay, I'm sorry.
Master Dickerson, is that your motion?
Yes.
Okay. So we have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion on that?
Well, I have a question.
Yes.
I was not present at the last meeting, so could I vote on this or not?
County Attorney,
Thank you.
any other questions, discussion?
I just want people to know why we're doing this. We were unfortunately, by not knowing the deadline, I want people to know that as I voted no last time for this, I want people to understand the reason I did. This was laid on me just as the meeting started, and that's not the way to do business. I'm not against giving our employees a bonus. I'm against the way it's being done and who's included and who's not included. And I think we need to go back to the table, discuss how this is split up. I'm for the 18%. Totally for spending that much money, but I'd like to see it split up where more people are included. I think people, I know everybody would like to have a $24,000 bonus. I think it's ridiculous. A lot of people worked during COVID. That's federal money that every taxpayer paid. And I want to see our employees to have a bonus, but I'm not happy with the way it's split up.
Okay, now you are aware that every county employee is being compensated.
Yes,
We're not leaving anyone out, county employees.
I just can't see, it is eligible, when we're given, I'm all for college kids and high school kids working the ball field. I don't consider that essential workers. I can't see giving it to high school and college kids for working at the ball field and not our ambulance drivers.
I don't believe we are.
We're not.
No, we're not. We're not giving them to our kids. Well, I agree with you. We don't need to do that. I do agree with that.
Is there not some part-time work?
But will say, county employees is what we're targeting here. Yes, I agree, ambulance service workers need it too. And we're gonna actually be in conversation about giving a donation to them. We just can't cut them checks because they're not on our payroll. But we're just talking about employees of the county. And no, I agree with you, Master Cooper. I think our kids, we provide part-time positions for them. And I agree.
But you're saying they're not included?
Well, I didn't realize they were. Okay, then hey, that's on me. So I don't think that they need to be, because we're just providing part-time employment for them. So we go back to the drawing table on that. So any other questions or comments?
Yeah, Judge, I've got a comment. I've given the money to the employees as well, but this thing came up on us so fast.
Talk to the microphone.
We didn't have time to think about it. We didn't know what it, I just voted for it because we're on a deadline. And I thought, my goodness, we might as well give it to them. But now that we have time, since we got an extension to January 31st, 22, is that correct?
I think it's actually April now. It's
So
a
we've got an
moving
extension.
target.
We've got an extension to April. So let's tweak this thing and get it right.
So what happened with the deadline? Why, what was the deal with the deadline being October 31st and also it's November 31st, or January 31st? I wasn't here either, and that's on me. But I don't understand that.
Those were federal government reporting guidelines, and when we were awarded the money, the first big report was due October 31st, based on our population and the amount of money we received. We got an email that we had a list of deadlines, October 31st, and a quarterly report after that. That's all been changed. I don't know if the other counties were probably having the same issues we are. And so the federal government said, wait a minute, we're not going to have as stringent a reporting guidelines. So let's go back to the drawing board on that. And just today I heard that it's not even January 31st, it is April. So, and they've made it a larger amount, yet we didn't get over 10 million. And those are the counties and cities that are going to have the more stringent deadlines now.
Did we have that email with the extension to January the 31st prior to the last meeting?
No. I mean, I didn't. I missed it. Somehow that's on me. It had been changed, but we didn't realize that at the board meeting.
But they had sent the email.
Yes.
It was in this office. In Barren County Judge's office all the time.
It's my responsibility.
Okay.
And I missed it somehow.
We hadn't hired you yet.
Well, that's true too, but I was volunteering, so
But that's,
you're welcome.
She volunteered for 3 months.
Kristen, when was your effective date of hire? October 1st,
I
was it?
think so, yes.
Okay, well,
October 1st. The meeting, we didn't vote on it till October 19th. So I don't think she could have been hired before.
I volunteered for a couple of months.
But I mean, legally, you couldn't been an employee until we,
Right, absolutely.
so she wasn't employed legally.
So I guess the question comes down to, are we gonna pay our employees or are we not?
yeah, I think the answer to that is, I think that I believe we got to pay our employees, but there's also other people. If this money can go in bigger, smaller slices to more people, like the EMS, can it be distributed to the EMS?
Yes.
We think yes.
Okay, they need to be included in this, because in my mind, the people that are riding in those ambulances, going in those homes and laying hands on the COVID patients are much more essential, and I don't want than those that are working from home or working somewhere in an office where you're somewhat protected. There's no comparison there. So, and I'm sure that once we open up that can, then there's going to be more cans.
Absolutely. People working from home were not included in this. It was people who worked in person and put themselves in danger during COVID.
When the county employees work from home, are they part of this list that I have?
No, sir.
Their time's not on.
No, they had to work in person.
What
And that's
about,
right, isn't it, Jenny?
what about the weeks that they worked? How did you arrive with their hours that they worked?
Time cards.
So was vacation time part of that too?
No, sir.
No.
Vacation time's not included?
No, if they were not in the office putting themselves in danger during COVID, it was not, the hours were not included.
If they were not in this, if they were not in the office putting themselves in danger, then they were not included.
Right,
Correct.
So if they were quarantined, that was not included.
it was not.
And
We
if they
got
work,
some on there that's got pretty high numbers, and I don't, it's hard for me to digest them, and I have to, I want to talk about those, mention names. Needs to be talked about, because there's some pretty high numbers on there, it looks to me. So, from salary employees, and I thought salary employees was 40 hours a week.
I don't know, I was not around at that time.
Some of our salary employees turned in 40 hours a week. Some of them turned in 60 hours. So I'd like to find out what the discrepancy, what the difference is.
Well, just because people are on salary, it's not my fault.
Is the red button down?
Just because they're salary employees doesn't mean they only work 40 hours a week. They report the overtime hours, they just do not get paid for overtime hours.
That.
And I-
They get paid.
And I think the sheriff's department works more than 40 hours. Do you not, Sheriff, you want to address that?
Sheriff doesn't have any hourly employees that's working, any salary employees that's working overtime. Sure.
Squire, I don't have any salary employees.
I'm
All
talking
of
about
mine
right now,
hours.
we're talking about salary employees that have turned in a buku overtime. I think it needs to be this.
But I believe the criteria says if you're physically here working, you can account for those hours, but you have to be physically on the job. You can count every hour. That's the federal criteria.
So county attorney, can we, as a court, go in closed session and discuss these issues about individual employees, not today, but in the near future? Can we all go in closed session and talk personnel about these employees? I'd rather not do that in open court.
I understand. I don't, off the top of my head, I can't think of an exception that would fall under for the Open Meetings Act. I'm happy to look into it for you and see if we can find an area where that fits, but I don't think you're.
Okay. If you would, please. And the other comment I would like to make is I'm going to encourage the rest of the nation to do the same thing. I'm going to make a list of questions, Ms. Steenberg, and I'm going to present them to her probably before the end of the week, and ask her a lot of questions about these things. And then I thank the magistrates when they were already here. We talked to the judge, call a special session, get this thing put to bed. But today, I'm we can bring it back up because we got to April to get this done. Is that correct, Kristen?
Yes,
Okay. Clear about that. So,
but I do think that the reason we wanted to go ahead and get it done is the Christmas. It's a good way to reward the employees, and a lot of people are having trouble right now keeping employees, and I just wanted to put that out there. That was the reasoning for
I
that.
understand. And one question I'm going to ask in this thing is, it got to come in one lump, or can it be spread out?
Okay.
Does anybody know that?
What would be the benefits of lump versus spread out?
Yeah.
Because it's not costing the county any money at all
Well,
to do this.
there is, for some reasons. Well, for instance, if we give somebody $10,000 this year and $10,000 next year, when June the 23rd comes up, or June the 31st comes up, somebody comes and asks me for a raise, I'm gonna say, man, you got $10,000 2 years in a row, so why should we give you a raise?
Well,
And that's just Carl's.
well, the timeline is that the money has to be promised by the end of 2024, and it has to be spent by the end of 2026. So yes, my guess would be spread over a couple of years.
And that's one of the questions.
Can I ask you questions, Squire? in your illustration there, obviously, this is monies given by the federal government to employees who worked during the COVID situation.
Right.
So I'm not understanding how your example to reflect this one-time payment compared to their future raises.
Well, I mean, if we publish the salaries of everybody that works for the county, then we will find that probably the average salary for Barren County is more than the average of the city of Glasgow, probably average county as a whole. And so I guess the question is, the taxpayers, whether it's federal or state or local, are paying these bills. So why should they pay so much more money to keep the county employees big salaries when they're not getting? That's the point.
So from what I understand, the city has voted to give premium.
Understand?
It's a,
And I'm not against giving it. That's what everybody doesn't understand. I don't think the courts is giving it.
no, not at all.
So, I mean, let's get.
Just so you know where they stand.
So let's get it down to, let's get all the questions answered before we get it.
What a great way to say thank you to the employee.
And I understand that.
And then
Let's get all the questions answered.
Okay.
we talk about some of the employees that had a lot of overtime. Each one of you elected officials had people that were out with COVID, and you had to have people to work overtime to cover. I know Jagger Bennett did. And what better way to say thank you to his employees, because he struggles, and we see it daily, with keeping people. And I just don't know how, as a court, we cannot say thank you like this. I mean, it should not even be a question.
But shouldn't we be representing the whole county?
You are representing the whole county. Your people that work for the county represents the whole county and waits on your constituents daily. They do the work for your constituents daily for the whole county. It's not costing our general fund a dime. What a better way to say thank you.
I'm all for thank yous, just the amounts is what I have.
There's a lot of more people deserve thank yous other than our county employees. Our county employees deserve a lot of thank yous. I'm all about that, but there's other people out there that work in this stuff every day, laying hands on those patients. And they need to be, I want to make sure that this motion includes, that's all I'm concerned.
So if you'll look at the report that I added to your packet after I got here this morning, some of the possibilities that have been talked about, we don't have access to their payroll or anything like that, so it'll have to be structured differently. But the ambulance service came to the committee meeting yesterday, and talked about premium pay. We have, Judge Hale and I met with several of the bigger healthcare providers in the community, and they're all doing okay, except the nursing homes. We even had a comment that if you've got money to give, you need to give it to the nursing homes. They are in dire need of employees. And so those are some things that we're kicking around. This was just the county, we have access to the county's payroll, so we were able to put that together quicker. The others will be awards to those entities for them to let us know how they spend it and how they reward their employees, would be my guess. Because we don't have access to their payroll, we can't add on to their checks and that kind of thing.
I've got a question. Why do we wait until the day of fiscal court to bring your questions out? Why don't we start doing the legwork by calling a committee meeting or going to Miss Krista, coming to Miss Jenny? I mean, you don't have to necessarily call me or believe me, but why do we wait till the camera's hot to start talking about these things? Because I know, I'm talking right now, excuse me, but I know a couple of you guys that have been to conferences that this money has been talked about, because I went to one of them. So I just, again, don't understand why we can't just say thank you to our employees at a time that I know some of them are struggling. And these elected officials know that some of them are struggling. And I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear from Miss Selena. I want to hear from Aaron, you know, on how your employees better than I do. But I also talk to them. I do. And I'm sorry, Carl, go ahead.
What I'm gonna say is the same reason I knew nothing about this until the morning that we had to vote on it. I sat and talked to you and Jeff Botts 30 minutes before the meeting started. And y'all never mentioned that we were getting ready to give our employees $1.6 million. And I had to vote on it just like that. And employees knew about it before I knew about it. That's why.
Well,
And by the way, at the conference, I had a judge to come up and shake my hand, thanking me for standing up and voting no, because every county judge I spoke to at that conference said we were crazy for doing what we were doing.
I have not heard that one time.
Every one, they said they give a lot of their judges give their employees $1,000, $1,500 a piece. Some of them didn't give them anything, which I think that's bad, but
But if we put between 1.5 and 1.6 million dollars into the hands of 120 some employees in this community, and they circulate that money throughout our community, and they go to Mr. Joe's Yancey's restaurant up there, and they eat food, and they buy alcohol or whatever, or they buy ads at his paper. That's circulating money in the community, and we are helping with that. Plus, we're helping with our employees.
I'm all for giving them money, I promise. But not $20,000.
Squire Dickerson, you were waiting for the floor. I've got some other questions, but you,
Okay, well, I just got one question. Did anybody miss a paycheck during COVID? Any county employee miss a paycheck during COVID? Any county employee miss a paycheck?
I'm not aware of it, but I'm not the paymaster.
So they got paid. A lot of people in our community did not get paid. So we're trying to give you all, but everybody goes saying, we got to do it right now, or y'all not doing it. So that's basically what I'm getting. So, you know, I still know, but it could be a yes in a week, but, you know, we just all run on top of us, and then come to find out, we had an extension sent here September the 20th, and the email wasn't read for 19 days.
We do.
So,
I agree.
You agree?
I agree with that.
And the email wasn't read for 19 days, and then we come into the meeting not knowing that, and then we find out by accident, because I asked somebody to send me a copy of the regulations, and the email was on that copy by accident. Now what about that, Sheriff? What about that?
Well, Squire, I can't answer that one because
That's right. And
that's,
it has been answered.
You know that email was here 19 days prior to
Sure
your
do.
meeting.
here's my stance, Carl.
Yes, sir.
And I'm all about the information. In my world, we have to dig in every single thread of information. But here's what I want to make sure I'm asking some questions to better understand to every one of the human beings sitting on the fiscal court. Is the fact that because I'm a spokesperson right now by default for my department, there's several behind me. Correct me if I'm wrong when I get out of line here. The federal government has pointed out in the regulations they have set forth that emergency responders can receive up to a percentage of monies.
Up to $13 an hour,
That's correct.
not over a certain, and we do
25,000.
not award that.
Not over 25,000.
That's correct. The court here or someone has put in the formula, which is lesser than that, which would indicate in my mind, obviously I don't work with a lot of numbers as extensively as you do, that there's some margin of leftover monies in that percentage. Maybe I'm wrong. 13% was what you quoted.
18% is,
18.
yes, what they voted to award the employees, and it was right at that.
At $5 an hour.
Okay,
Yes.
my mistake. I
Less
thought there
than
was.
half what the federal government allowed.
Right. What I'm getting at is, here, folks, as we've talked before, this is a one-time opportunity for fiscal court to award county employees and or even whoever. Okay, I'm not in that part of it. But I have to ask the question to clarify to my employees, because in my definition, you're posturing yourself not to award the employees. If you tell me that you need time. Okay, I'm good with that. I'm good with finding details. We do investigations for years, literally. I've just got to pose the question. This is not off the table, gentlemen. Is that correct?
That's right.
It's not off the table. To me, it's on the table. There's just some details that need to be worked out.
Understand?
In my mind, I
Understand.
can't speak for anybody else.
Right.
If Trent River says there's some details that need to be worked out, it feels like it happened awful fast. And that email was in this office from a federal government, 19 days prior to that meeting concerning millions of dollars. That's an issue.
I can't speak to that, Squire, just because that's not my office. In other words, I'm one man trying to speak for my group.
I understand. And I have no problem with you.
From my standpoint, Sheriff, your men will receive something from my standpoint, as far as I'm concerned. But it's this formula they got now.
So,
Mr. Coomer?
I'm just saying, I think your guys deserve more than someone that sat in the office and had no contact with COVID. Anybody, the people that were in contact, I mean, people sitting in the office up there doing their job had more chance of getting COVID going to Walmart than they did sitting up here. And I just don't see, they still came to work, but they weren't in contact like your office and the ambulance drivers and the other people were. And
Master, did you know that myself, Emergency Management, Solid Waste went out and helped lift COVID patients and help the ambulance service?
yeah, you're not
So,
eligible.
I mean, I know we're not eligible, but I'm just giving you that example. But I can tell you, Helena's crew,
Yes.
they faced COVID people daily. We tried to protect them. Mr. Bennett's got
Yes.
300 plus
I
inmates,
agree.
and his people, it ran rapid through that jail. And that included people that sat in his office, had to go out on the floor and work too. So
I agree. They deserve it.
I guess, you know, I'm not gonna sit here and feel bad for the jail or whatever, you know, we signed up, I got some great employees up there, we have great employees as a county up there. You know, none of my employees, even the state, is sitting in our office. I mean, there's work to be done, we all do it. I don't care if it's mopping floors, what it may be, wiping down door handles, whatever, you know, and I know they said about, you know, people sitting in offices, Ms. Jones, did you get cussed? I got an employee, she answers the phone quite a bit. Man, I feel bad for her. She gets cussed quite a bit, you know. And that's, you know, we can say that's part of the job. Do I get cussed? Yeah, quite a bit. I try not to cuss back. I'm trying to be a better person these days. But, you know, the perseverance, I keep going back to that one word, perseverance, guys. I'm not beating a dead horse. But they showed up, and I know we talked about salary employees. I got salary employees, and they put in a lot of hours. They put in a lot of hours because we had to. You know, just a few months ago, 18 employees out at one time. Guys, I was struggling. I was beat down. Excuse my language in front of the court. I worked my ass off. This is the hardest job I've ever done. I've been in the military. I've been on the streets with these guys. I've worked under the sheriff. You know, I've been shot at and everything else. This is by far the hardest thing I've done in my life is work. And then you throw in a pandemic upon that. And that's one thing I will give all of us in this room, all the elected officials. We have faced one thing that no other elected officials in Barren County ever has, a pandemic. And we got through it. And that's great. And we're continuing to learn. Like me, heck, I have a courthouse in my jail now. Y'all ought to come and see it. I can't do certain things because there's been so many changes. There's been so many changes. And I know, you know, there's a history of being judged. We've bumped heads and everything else before. We're part of it. But today, I'll be honest with you, I support you, man. You know, in this decision, I understand rushing this, but I guess my problem is today, we just told a bunch of county employees, we're looking at $25,000. Ain't worth that. Y'all said, it's not worth that.
My credit is the office employees. Office employees. Let's go back to March 2020. We sit in office, you're right. There are some ridiculous pictures of me wearing gloves, no mask at sometimes, but I had gloves on, cough in my hand. I didn't know what COVID or a pandemic was or what it even looked like. I knew I looked ridiculous when I look back at those pictures today. I don't know, do you all remember election 2020? Does anybody remember the general election 2020? In an office, we served people out of, one minute we started out of the door in the foyer, and then we went to the front door, and then we put in some windows, and we served folks out the windows. But we had to open those doors to serve the voters, the 32,000 plus voters in Barren County. 11,000 voters came through the office, and we touched, I did, my staff did, the election workers did, and we cleaned after them to try to protect everybody. They did that from an office setting. Then, in August of 21, we'll go back to March of 21. Myself and a number of my family members, we got COVID. Some people blame me because I'm the person that's working in the front line. And I don't know if I was to blame or not, but I have a very important person to me that was in my life that's not here today because of COVID. Okay, she passed away in August. The first week of August, 2021, my staff got wiped out by COVID. Was sitting there with 3 people that had not tested positive. 3. But guess what? We kept things going. We kept doing everything we could. We got creative and we kept working for Barren County so we'd have revenue to turn over. We haven't missed our marks yet. We're not gonna miss them because I'm gonna do everything in my power to make sure that doesn't happen. As we opened with prayer this morning, Trent, you were praying about thankfulness. This is the season of Thanksgiving. It's next week. We are all very thankful and we're very blessed. I'm super blessed. And just like Jailer Bennett said, we told our employees about this gift in this time of Thanksgiving and Christmas, that we are so blessed to have received from the federal government, and we received it at a high cost, y'all. Nobody wanted to go through a pandemic. Nobody. And I'm sorry that we have this money, but I'm grateful for it, and I'm grateful for it today. And what I think I'm hearing is that you guys are grateful that we have it, and we're blessed to be able to give it to our employees. We just need a little more time. And I hope, Judge, that you'll call a special meeting and we'll have this settled before the holidays, maybe not before Thanksgiving, because this is not a no. This is just before Christmas, because I've got some single mamas down there that are giving it all they've got. And they're going to keep giving it all they've got because they need a job, just like so many people. And they stuck in there with me, and they went through this crazy time, and they wore the gloves and the mask and all this stuff, and nobody knew if it was going to protect them or not. But even though we are in an office setting, we're touching lots and lots of people. We're still getting COVID. We're still taking it home to our family members. And I hope that nobody else's family members pass away because of COVID. And I hope that no one else from my office gives it to their family members. So just keep that in mind. Even though we're in an office, it takes one person.
I wasn't
And
including.
it's okay. It's okay.
Your people are not sitting in individual offices. Okay, that's what I was.
Some do.
Okay.
Some do. It's okay. I'm just trying to let y'all understand that just because we're office doesn't mean that, you know, that we're not exposed. Okay, but I appreciate y'all and I appreciate what you're saying, because I think ultimately what you're saying is you just need a little more time, and that's okay. Just promise me, for my people, for the people that work for Barren County, and I don't know the total number, that we're gonna have a special meeting and we're gonna resolve this and we're gonna do what we've already told them we're gonna do, okay? So let's just keep going forward. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, Elena, and I want to praise you guys for the election. It was probably one of the best deals that I've ever seen. It worked out fantastic for everyone. And I'm by no means putting you in any kind of second place position, saying that we all could go for everybody. And I just want to make sure that people that are due something, that the frontline workers get something. That's all I'm saying. Your people and all the county employees are entitled to cut. There's no doubt about it. But there's also some other people that are not included in this motion that I feel like they're entitled to something.
So take that extra time and prepare.
Right.
That's exactly what we want to do.
Again, we hired her to do this. Let's give her all these questions. Let's get them done fast. I mean, let's get them done at the end of the week. Can you handle that, Kristen?
Absolutely.
Let's get them all to her. And then judge wants to call a meeting, or the magistrates can call a meeting or whatever. Let's get back together and put this thing to bed. And I mean, we've done this on other things in this county in the past little bit. The Justice Center comes to mind. We all got together, we talked, we put it to bed. So let's do the same thing here. And I'll be sending my questions, Chris, you can probably get several of them tomorrow, and I'll send them to Jenny as well.
So we're voting on your motion to not pay the county employees.
That's correct.
Okay, I want to make that clear because this has nothing to do, I want to break this up. It has nothing to do with the reporting because this motion is just to not pay the county employees.
As of today.
Okay,
I'm just, we can just judge, my motion was to revote since I was in the affirmative, the motion was made earlier, because we'll be starting from scratch. The same amount of money will be allocated. I have no problem with that. But it's just, the motion, the vote is, I was in the affirmative before, so if you want to not agree with that motion, put past the 1.6 million, then you will vote a no vote. You catch that? Is that correct?
well, I'm just
Are you with
clarifying.
me, Sherry?
I'm just clarifying your motion.
Okay, well, that's what it was.
Right. Well, we've had a lot of discussion, so I want to make sure that the motion is specific.
Yeah, I want to hear the motion.
Sherry, would you mind? Here you go.
Here, Jeff Ryder's for him.
Or do we just vote on having a special session to resolve all these issues surrounding this?
The original motion was to approve minutes. Then Carl made a motion, Trent made the second. Carl stated the last meeting, he voted for the premium pay in the affirmative, and he asked the court to vote, to the court for another vote.
Okay, so just to be clear then, all right, so just to be clear then, the timing is nowhere in that motion. We're merely voting on premium pay for the county employees or not, correct? Is that correct?
That was the original motion on the 19th of October. Yes, that's.
I've got, I haven't had my little spiel here. We had that committee meeting. Tim brought my name and the judge up. Yeah, it was rushed. It was presented to our committee during this pandemic. Mark wasn't here. I don't know if it was some reason that he had COVID or, you know, I don't like the Zoom stuff. It's convenient, I'll be honest, it's convenient for me, but you know, face to face is the best. And we didn't have Mark there. I am disappointed. We did have a committee meeting yesterday that we were rushed. We presented the question to the treasurer on why it wasn't presented. And she said it was an overlook. Talked with Krista. I'm trying to do the right thing. It's a lot of pressure here. It's a lot of money. I apologize with Tim. I was kind of rushed at the meeting the last time.
And I know he had a lot of things that he needed to say, wanted to say more, and I apologize to him. I'm gonna apologize to him again publicly. That he didn't have enough time and kind of made him look like the bad guy, which he's not the bad guy, but you know, you all can cipher that however you want. But I want to go back. I'm the chairman of the budget committee, and we presented the premium pay, regardless of the time. In my mind, I prayed about this and I want to try to do the right thing. They both give their testimony on why they didn't or whatever. Bottom line is they prepared a pie. We voted on premium pay. So in my mind, I'm going to accept their apology from yesterday. This is me personally talking. I'm not talking about the whole court. You can do whatever you want to do. I'm just telling you what I'm doing because I'm the administrative. A lot of pressure's on me. We brought it before. Regardless of the time, whether we got that information or not, yes, it was pressured on the time, but I'm still going to vote yes, because for my mind, I have employees. I wished I had that money to be able to give some of my employees. We didn't get that. So I'm going to vote yes. There's no way that this can be fair no matter what we do. There's just no way, but I'm going to vote yes because I think it's the right thing. And that's just for me, as my whole committee wasn't there, but we would rush. But either way, if it was a timeline, I'm going to still vote yes, because we've seen the numbers, so we can sit and say we need more time, but we already see the numbers. We had a committee meeting, the ambulance director came up. We're going to present that. We're going to get them money. And Krista confirmed that we can. So right now, I don't want to take a chance. I'm going to vote. I don't want to take a chance that we're not going to have this gap. We don't get this committee, another meeting, a special meeting, that these people can't get some money before Christmas. Yes, they got a check every time, but I just wish that I was able to give my employees something like this. But I'm just doing it because I think it's the right thing. Yes, I own a business. I think that helps my decision on that, but that's where I'm at. You all vote whatever you want to do, but Jeff Bott's voting yes still. I'm disappointed that we didn't get that, whether it was overlooked on an email. I get a bunch of emails and I have overlooked a lot of stuff. But regardless, that same number, we're still going to be there with a date looking forward. And I would think, Krista, you can answer this. There's still going to be money in that pot. We can, if we want to go to the ambulance or somebody that we think when we have this special meeting with, that we can come up with a list of people and we can keep giving money if that's what we want as a court, can't we? Even if it gets out of that premium percentage. If Tim has a person that he thinks is not fair, or Carl, we can sit down and have a special meeting and let's get them money. I would think, but I'm done talking. Well, I just want to make a comment myself. I think this is an opportunity to stand up and to support our employees. And I will be voting yes for the premium pay. Now, all the discussion that we've had around the timing of that, that's a different discussion. But what we're voting on in this motion, and let's be clear, we're voting yes for premium pay for the employees or no for premium pay. Am I correct?
For today.
For today, is that correct? County attorney, is that correct?
I'm trying to follow everyone's
Okay.
interpretation of what we're voting on. And it's my understanding that the motion before the court is simply, in layman's terms, a motion to re-vote on this issue. You're not voting at this time on the substantive issue of whether or not you're approving the premium pay. You're voting on whether or not you are going to reconsider the motion that you originally already approved at the prior fiscal court meeting. So if you want to have a revote, your vote on this motion that is currently before the court would be yes. And then there needs to be a stated motion to bring back before the court the issue of whether or not this fiscal court is going to approve the premium pay as presented at the last meeting. Does that answer your question? I feel like I need a PowerPoint and outline.
If we're voting to revote,
That's all.
Yeah.
to bring it back up just to revote.
We're not voting for the
That's correct.
premium pay?
Yeah,
We're not voting for or against? the
we're not voting for it against premium. We're
Because,
voting to revote.
because this is a vote that has already occurred in fiscal court, and you all have already made a decision with regard to this, then you all as a court will have to approve bringing it back before the court for another vote. That's what this motion is. And only a person on the prevailing side of the last motion can make that motion to bring it back up, which has happened.
Yeah.
That Mr. Dickerson, Squire Dickerson was on the prevailing side.
Do you have a question?
Yes,
Yeah.
so a yes would mean we're bringing it back for reading. Is that right? Is that what you just told me?
Yeah, this is, we're voting to bring it back for a revote. Okay, any other questions, any other discussion?
Thank you for the clarification.
Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Squire Dickerson,
Yes.
Squire Cameron,
Yes.
Squire Bowman,
Yes.
Squire Sargent,
Yes.
Squire Howard.
Yes.
Squire Bott,
No.
Squire Riddle.
Yes.
Judge Taylor.
No.
Okay, we need to carry on now to next. After reading, and I read it this morning, the fiscal court has a resolution basically saying exactly what we're going to revote on. Am I not correct about that? Resolution number 21 says that Barren County hereby recognizes our county workforce as performing exceptionally during the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. Then it goes on to say, one of the ARPA permission purposes is premium pay for essential workers, which include work performed by local governments. It also continues to say $13 an hour is maximum. Barren County recognizes that all county employees, regardless of wage level, should be rewarded and incentivized for having provided and for continuing to provide exemplary service during this pandemic as pandemic risks cut across income levels. And whereas Barren County wishes to reward and incentivize our employees by creating a program that recognizes exceptional work. Whereas the Treasury urges counties to prioritize premium pay low and moderate income persons. County should prioritize low and moderate income persons with additional writing justification needed for workers above 100%, 150% of the residing state's annual wage for all occupants of their residing county annual wage, whatever is higher. Now therefore is being resolved by the fiscal court of the Barren County of Barren. The county was allotted ARPA funding to be utilized for a variety of purposes. One of the ARP permissible purposes is essential worker premium pay, going on and on. It's basically what this resolution is basically what we've been talking about, is it not? Everybody read it on the court.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop you right there. I'm the presiding officer of this court.
Yes, sir.
So right now, you're out of order. So let's go back to the agenda. No, let's go back to the agenda. The minutes are on the table. We've got to vote on the minutes. You are all the way down in here under reports.
Okay. thank you.
So let's go back to the minutes. We got the minutes on the table and we need to vote on the minutes. Is there any other question or discussion on the minutes at hand? Okay, Madam Clerk, roll call vote.
Squire Cameron,
No.
Squire Bowman,
Yes.
Squire Sargent,
Yes.
Squire Howard.
Yes.
Squire Bott.
Yes.
Squire Riddle,
No.
Squire Dickerson.
Yes.
Judge Taylor.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much. Announcements. Does any magistrate have a announcement in their respective district that they want to bring forth to court? Okay, if not, I invite the court. The Barren County Christmas Luncheon will be Wednesday, December the 8th at 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the First United Methodist Church Family Life Center. Also, the PDB meeting will be Wednesday, November 24th at 1 p.m. and that will be held here in this courtroom. Just a little update on that. I had suggested to the PDB committee that Magistrate Coomer, any negotiations on any potential property for a new courthouse, that he joined me in that effort. So what has happened is we have a letter of intent to negotiate, and Magistrate Coomer has that, and it is also being looked over by our attorney who represents that board, Mr. Rich Alexander. So that's where we're at. We should have some more updated at our PDB meeting. Also, just brought to my attention, the Bobby Driver Scholarship fundraiser is Saturday, November the 20th at the Plaza Theater. Thank you, County Attorney. Okay, we'll move on. Under my report, we'll go to the County Attorney. I'm glad Mr. Job's here today. He had asked some clarification on some procedures as it relates to the old courthouse. I'm going to sum this up. We as a court, obviously there was a lot of confusion on who wants the courthouse, where are we going to put it? And we had a group out there that just basically said, we don't want you to have it. Now, whether that group was against me being a Democratic judge, I don't know. I have no idea. But we had a lot of obstacles. The way our conversations with AOC was, and I know Mr. Coomer was very vocal in getting our old courthouse fixed and getting just paint, metal, whatever, and having AOC to do as much as they can. So with all the confusion that one little group was putting up, AOC told us, and if you guys remember, when we met over there at the courthouse, Miss Lori, and I can't think of Lori's last name, Dunnigan, said, if you get these quotes to us, we will meet and we will turn it around very quickly. And hopefully it'll satisfy some people in your community. That's what we done. Now, they were over the 30,000 procurement process. I've had conversations with some of you. Were we supposed to follow it? We sure was. We should have done that. And we were wrong. We made a mistake. And as a court, we voted not to do that. And I take responsibility for that. The county attorney, she was never asked. She was never asked to participate because AOC was saying, get your quotes in, and we'll turn it around quickly. So that's where I stand. Master Coomer, do you have anything you want to add to that?
No, I mean, I agree with that. We should have, we were told to give quotes, and I'll take partial responsibility. We did it wrong, and it won't happen again.
That's correct. County Attorney, do you have anything you want?
Well, I would just say that I agree with everything that's been said. It was a situation where the procurement policy, because of the dollar amount that was involved, should have been followed. Judge Hale and Chairman Coomer and I had many discussions about this situation since it occurred, and we thought it was prudent by us to bring this before the court and make sure, one, that we publicly acknowledge that as a court, and two, that we as a court can use this as a learning experience, I hope, and that this wouldn't happen in the future. I appreciate the acknowledgement that I wasn't consulted about the decision before it was made. I was not, but I do want to make sure that we all are aware of this moving forward so that it's not anything we ever face again. I will also say that because in no way do I think anyone had any intention of doing anything they weren't supposed to do. This is a project that is fully funded by means of reimbursement through the administrative office of the courts. And I believe because they were directing and instructing and sending information about what they needed, I think the county was acting swiftly and getting that done so that the repairs could be completed. So I do think that it was purely accidental, and I believe that the county was acting in a way that they thought they were doing what was right. And I hope to expedite the process since it was an AOC funded project.
One thing I would like to add is that I know we've been accused of waiting too long to do some repairs. We did submit estimates last year for doing this work. The AOC would not accept anything because of the COVID and the extent of budget cuts unless it was a safety issue. So we were denied that opportunity to do these repairs earlier. So I just want everyone to know that.
Okay,
Judge, can I ask a question?
yeah,
So the AOC is going to pay for the quotes.
100%.
No harm, no foul, the way I see
That makes sense.
Sure.
How's that? Well,
it. But
Thank you.
I think everybody's capable. When you get in hurry up situations like we were here, bring us the estimates, the quotes, whatever you want to call them. And let's run it through there. You know, that's exciting. You know that you're going to get reimbursed. You want to get it done, trying to follow what they say. Mistakes happen. And that's why sometimes we just got to slow the road. That's all I say. I'm proud to see the work going on over there because it was in dire need of it. And I think it's looking good. That's all I have to say.
Okay, anything else? Okay, moving on, Parks and Recreation, the 2021 tournament report. Barry?
I gave the sheet prior to court meeting this morning. You'll see on the sheet, favorite tournament expenditures, growth total, things of that nature. July 8th through the 11th, Bay Grove Regional Valley Softball Tournament. It's been an up and down year this year for us. Recently started out, we're supposed to have 50 some teams. I even had to reach out and try to find more ball fields and different things like that. I called out to the city parks, Eddie Furlong, we were going to use Beaver Trail. By the time everything got coming down, this was all happening in about a week. By the time we all got there, I think we had 21 teams that actually did show up. We had some out-of-state teams, some local state teams. So we wound up with about 21 teams. It was nowhere near what we had originally thought it was going to be. And then even after that, we ran across some issues of weather. We didn't even get to play, but I think one or two games in our losers bracket division. So that cut out almost half of Saturday, and we only played 4 games on Sunday, which one game lasted 3 minutes because that's all it's lasted for the championship game. The other one had 15 minutes in it, and then we played a 16U full game and championship game. So we had those 4 games, didn't make anything on that Sunday whatsoever. Pretty much concession stand totals, that's your food, drinks, containers, cups, napkins, different things like that. For the tournament, we spent $3,736. That's rounded up to the nearest dollar. If it was $3,735 and 50 cents, I rounded it up to 60 or to 36. Umpire cost, that was the exact cost, $3,320. Employees, 23 employees was paid $8,183 over the period of 4 days. We had 7 volunteers. I kind of got that highlighted. Those 7 volunteers on an average of the time they spent would have been an additional $2,240. That's just on an average of $8 an hour. I think those, if y'all get a chance and an opportunity, I don't know if you know them, Miranda Burge, Jonathan Burge. Let me tell you guys, they put in a lot of time, a lot of hard work. They didn't have to do that. They didn't have a kid. Their kid plays baseball. Didn't have to be there. This was softball. Other employees, you know, they were family members of mine. You know, my wife, my son, two of my wife's cousins, Sarah and Sherry, Sarah Heiser, Sherry Moore, Abigail Heiser put in time. The judge was there. He put in, washed dishes, cooked hamburgers, did all kinds of things for us. He's not included in that volunteer. But a lot of people put in a lot of time to try to make this come through. The umpires' rooms, as you know, in the contract, we had furnished rooms for the umpires. It was part of the contract. Anybody that comes in, that was a total of $1,698. We furnished some T-shirts. We bought T-shirts and resold them. We bought the T-shirts for $1,020. Field supplies, you'll see there, all those field supplies that we used for the weather, so we could get those fields dried up for Sunday. All that field supply actually came from one of the leagues that had kind of done away. They done away with it. You know, we had like a Red Cross, North Jackson, Temple Hill, Eastern leagues and things like that. All those supplies actually came, but that's about what we spent figuring on how many bags and things we used that day to get those fields dry. That's counting Saturday and Sunday. Then, of course, you know, the tournament fee that we had, that was $7,500, which they kind of gave us a break. It's typically $10,000. Tournament total cost was $24,437. The actual tournament with all the problems of people not showing up and things like that was $18,985. So we kind of lost with those days and the people not showing up. We kind of lost $5,452, which in all honesty is probably, even though we didn't have teams there that Saturday afternoon, that Sunday, I still had to have employees to try to help get the field prepared for those games if we could play those 3 games. So those hours and those wages, a little bit in there and some of those supplies.
Two questions, Max, if I could. First of all, the T-shirts there, were they all distributed or do you have some left over to release some?
We only had 3 left in Ohio Regional Valley. The reason why they were left, they were super extra small. They're still sitting up there in there, every one of the rest of them. So.
And my second question is, sounds to me like there was teams that had committed to come to the tournament and did not. Did we collect that fee?
We don't collect that fee. We don't collect the fee from the teams. We don't collect the fee whatsoever. The only thing we get is gate, concession stands, and that's it. That's all we get is what we sell, whether it be T-shirts, whatever we sell. We don't collect that fee from those teams individually. We pay to have this tournament trophy. So.
And did you mention the money that we received from tourism?
Tourism and stuff, I did not. I don't know the exact dollar amount on that.
I believe they kicked in $7,500.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. They kicked in $7,500. So in all actuality, you can deduct that tournament host fee from that. So in actuality, that put us up in the black if we deduct it because we were not out that money.
All right.
So that would put us in the black. That would put us at gaining 2,000. What, 2,048, 2,500. So that's actually got us in the black. I forgot about that. So them giving tourism, giving us that money. So now actually I have to we're in black. So, but no, the tournament we do not collect fees from those things that they come in. That would be your travel tournament. This is Babe Ruth, and we're part of the league and organization. We agree to do that. We don't accept those fees from that. So, as far as on the back side of that, you see the sheet. These are the items that we had. Of course, I see I misspelled some there. We used 35 boxes of hamburgers, or bought 35 boxes for it. We used 21 boxes. Total sold was 255. We had 25 waste, which mainly that was that Sunday. Most usually at the end of the day, we try to go around and sell it for at least $1 or so, whatever we get out of it, to get rid of it and sell it for something, make something like that. But that Sunday, it was just a lost cause. We didn't have nobody wanted to eat. They ate before they got there, because we started around 12 o'clock. Games was over, and they pretty much shot out there and ate some more. Pretty much same for hot dogs. We sold 913. We had put your box is 40. 40 or so, or I'm sorry, it's 80, I think, for the hot dogs. So we took half a box there, kind of lost it, 47 on that Sunday as well. I can go through each and every one of these if you'd like for me to. It's up to you guys. What we had and what we didn't have.
I see no way.
Somebody else wants to. So.
Any questions? Max Murray, great job holding it all together.
So it's been tough, you know, a lot of people don't realize the park took, you know, we were one of the first with sporting events throughout all this stuff. The very first one, the schools took our guidelines and used it. Our employees, which are teenagers, the schools did with adults. So I just ask you to remember that. I don't know where I've got, didn't say much, but I was personally, during all this pandemic, cussed, shoved, bumped, there to the parking lot to look at the backside. All this just to ask people to sit on their eggs, to dig yourself out 6 feet. There's people here that was there that can see that, and testify, they saw those things going on. My 16-year-old kids, 15-year-old kids cussed and told they were going to whoop them, all because they asked them to fill out a contact trace form. So think about these kids. They're not just kids. They stepped up and did adult things. Okay? Anything else, guys?
Any other questions for Maxie? Maxie, thank you. Thank you for your work. Appreciate you. Okay, moving on, Administrative and Budget Committee, Chairman Botts.
Thank you. We're gonna move on here to line item 1. We opened yesterday, we had our committee meeting. And we opened bids up, election purchase. Helena, you want to just go ahead and take the roll real quick and just tell them that number? And we're going to be asking for a PO for this number.
Okay, so the bid we received one bid from Harp Enterprise for the election equipment for $172,012. This is slightly over the budgeted amount of $2,000 over. But that includes the recycling of the old elections equipment. So do you have any questions about that?
Is Mr. Harmon your guy?
Yeah.
Okay. I know he's been waiting patiently.
Harmon is our rep from Harp Enterprise. If you all have specific questions about, I know there's some questions about when we're going to get the equipment. He is on, he can answer those. He offered that yesterday. I will say, some of you obviously weren't here for the budget committee meeting. The State Board of Elections did tell us last week in our Kentucky County Clerks conference that we will be receiving $2,200 per precinct. For Barren County, that will be around $57,200. So what we have to do to get that money is purchase our new election equipment and then turn in the serial numbers from that equipment, and they'll send us our funds. And Jeremy, you may want to give some input on that. They may be able to give us more than 2,200, but that is kind of what we're guaranteed is 2,200 per precinct.
Thank you. And so bottom line, it's in a little bit over her budget, but with the reimbursement, we're going to look pretty good at this. So I'm going to make a motion for $172,012 even for Harp Enterprise.
Can I say one thing before you do? I
Yes.
need you all to understand our current equipment. We currently have 27 E-stands that are approximately 12 years old. And we have our E-slates, or as we all commonly call them, the handicap machines. They're 16 years old. So just so you kind of know, but they have received a lot of wear and tear over the years. And
Okay, again, I'm gonna make this motion, but we have been talking about this in our budget committee for the last basically 2 years. So here we are now, a motion for $172,000 $172,012 to Harvard Enterprise Incorporated.
Second. We have a second, Mr. Bowman. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes.
Thank you. Now we got the sheriff up. He's going to have a few line items on tasers, tablets, and storage buildings. So I guess you want to start with which one you want.
Thank you very much, Squire Botts. If I may, I'd like to ask permission to go backwards on our items. I'd like to talk to the storage building topic first, then tablets and tasers. If you guys and folks would look at your paperwork, I've went off some things. It would be a 2-page packet. It'll be a drawing on the front page. The second page will be an estimate. And that's what we're doing now, is just getting estimates. We're not in the bid process yet. So the diagram of the building is 80 feet long. It's 12-foot roof. It's metal, concrete floor, 2 overhead doors that oppose each other, 10 foot tall. As you can see in one portion of the building, there are 2 rooms, 20 by 20. This is just a proposed building sketch to house both the clerk's new voting machines and our required records by state mandate of retention records, which varies from everything from investigations to citations to wrecks to you name it. I think the total down there in pencil is like 76 and some change. I don't have it in front of me, but you got it. So again, this is something that we've talked about, and it kind of gained traction, especially after the old jail is being prepared to be torn down or demolished because we're running out of room. Obviously, this is something to plan for the future. I got the prices on the climate control storage here locally. A 10 by 20 room was going to cost me $250 a month. I think Carl and I talked about this. That's about $3 grand a year, plus Alina's voting machines. That's a total of $6 grand a year. I thought it would be more feasible in the long run, Court, to think about constructing a building that could facilitate 2 or 3 different objectives. So again, this is merely an estimate for future planning. And I plan to get 2 more estimates before we get into an actual reception of bids and move forward. Comments or questions?
Questions for the sheriff?
I would think with our committee meeting yesterday that we would probably go on and get actual quotes. I meant get with Sherry and get into the bid. Let's get bids on it. So because it's with the weather and the time of doing things by the book, it takes a lot of time to do that. We need to get that because we know we just voted in election equipment. So we need to move forward. So I would think you would want to get with Sherry and get it actually bids instead of quote, just bids. Whatever timeline it is, and that gets that official.
Okay, do you want to make that motion to proceed?
Yeah, I will make a motion that we get bids for this new storage building and sheriff's facility. And the location, of course, didn't know at our meeting, it's going to be at the county barn. Has room for this.
We've got several acres we're not using, but I don't see why we couldn't.
So that's my motion to have the bid process, not committing to anything other than getting the bids legally, the time frames and all that. The sheriff's going to get with Sherry on that.
All right, we got a motion.
I'll second.
Got a second, Master Bowman. Questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes, Chair.
All right. Which line item you want to go next? Sure.
I'm going to go to the tablets.
Okay.
Solve this, the time display. Okay. So, what I have here
ladies and gentlemen, is a Dell, for lack of better words, tough book tablet. I think many of you seen it. There was a few folks that were out when I showed it the first time. The reason we're investigating these here for possible future purchase is in 2015, we went to a tablet, which is a little smaller than that unit there, much to the size of the computer that you guys use with your information. Those tablets are starting to age out. Many of them were purchased in 15 and 16. So they're starting to show some wear and some complications. So therefore, we kind of set stuff in motion to look to the future to replace that. That device there is a little tougher, a little bit more rugged. It's used by many agencies, both in the emergency service world and the private sector. Seems to be holding up very well. I think the local city police use it also. Roughly, it's about $18.50, $18.45 a unit, $1,850 per unit. This is something that I'd like to show you and move forward on, possibly even line item something for the upcoming budget year of the 22-23 budget year. So it's not something necessarily acting on immediately. I want to show it to you, plan ahead, get our ducks in a row, try to move forward in upcoming months. And obviously, behind this, we'll talk about tasers here in a minute, which has a little bit more of an urgency to it than the tablet. Any questions or comments about this?
Questions for the sheriff? All right. Is your master taser guy here?
He is.
Okay.
Okay, the next thing, I'll introduce it. Deputy Morgan's going to give us a demo on a taser product, which is obviously a less lethal item. He will outline some of the things that go along with the configuration, the color, whatnot of the device. Also, you have a packet on this there, and this is a 5-year plan. Mr. Coomer, you addressed me with a question last time, will they take a cash payment? No. They say they've given us $18,000 or 18 something discount. So they say no. So that's where we're at. It's obviously divided there on the paper where we can make yearly payments of 13 and some change, or we can subdivide that in 2 payments, 4 payments. Yes, sir. That's it. That's the taser paperwork right there. And also, let me interject while I have a moment. Last meeting, Squire Dickerson, you asked me about a blotter of activity. I went back real quickly and you asked me about a quarterly activity. I got the month of October. I know that's not a quarter, but I wanted to bring you something. There's a single page in your packet. Starts out with the sheriff's letterhead. That's correct. That shows what some of the rough numbers are for October. How many calls we made in certain areas, how many miles we drove, warrants, arrests, domestics, vice versa. So I just wanted to follow up on Carl's request. And again, it's not a quarter, it's a month. And in the future, I'll have quarter number for you. But let's get back to the topic of tasers. Deputy Morgan will come up here and illustrate some of the advantages of this new product that we're looking to purchase.
And we needed a volunteer, didn't we? Charles, I thought, did Kearney. Well, I thought it was Master Cooper.
Well, I thought, well, do the. I didn't go back.
That's a good idea, to be honest.
Nah.
How y'all doing? I worked last night, so if I get lost mid-sentence, I'll probably try to circle back around. If you got any questions while I'm talking, stop me and I'll try to explain. So I've been a taser instructor since 2005, and I'm now a master taser instructor, which is the judge's joke there, which just means I teach instructors now, and for taser to teach instructors. So this is actually the oldest technology that taser makes. This is what we have now. They don't even make it's single shot, and they don't even make they'll never make another single shot taser, because the technology is just going way past that. This is actually the one, actually, that's not true. This is an X26 speed. The model before it was the X26. That's what we used when I went through Taser strip reports in 2005. They have come out with several models since then with multiple shot. And just to be honest with you, this is the only one that I've ever said they got it figured out right this time. The other ones, there was always something wrong with it. They come out with one with 3 shots, it looked like you put a hairdryer on the belt. Then they came out with 2, but it really wasn't worth the price increase. Just some points on this. So the de-escalation on the use of a taser, just pulling it out of the holster is your first de-escalation tool. When this laser comes on, I'm trying to point this in, but when that laser comes on, that's a big de-escalation tool. Because when they see that laser on, when they see that laser coming out of it, they're like, I'm getting ready to do this. The next step in de-escalation is what they call an arc. Okay. To do that with this, to do an arc with this, you have to physically, now this is why you're dealing with the combative taser. You have to physically take this taser cartridge off. Remember to hold it like this and not like this, because in this old technology, this spark can set this off and shoot it into your hand. Pull the trigger, put it back on, and say, I'll tase you. So that's that in itself is a little archaic. Another thing on these is how much is the battery? Did we ever forget how much the battery was?
I think I looked it up, it ended up being like 3250.
3250 a piece, and we replace them probably every year. Multiple taser batteries every year. So moving right along to the new one. First off, which one looks like a firearm? This one doesn't. Okay, and this is the only color they make this way. And for that reason, in today's climate and accidental shootings, you just can't afford it. So these old ones used what they called, actually Taser calls them dumb cartridges. These new ones are smart cartridges. What they come out with, Taser did some research and they found out that most Taser engagements, which is accurate, is within 7 feet. The preferred target area for Taser is to split the belt line. So you get one probe in the upper hemisphere and one probe in the bottom hemisphere. To do that, I need a certain amount of spread to get that. Roger that. I don't want to take that across. It's not. It will be. So with this one,
Come on up, look here.
With this one, you got one red dot. Okay. If I shoot him from here, there's no way it's gonna reach him. Okay. The bottom taser is gonna hit, or the bottom probe is gonna hit probably about 3 feet in front of him. So like I said, they called those dumb cartridges. These are smart cartridges. They came out with a close quarters cartridge, which increased the spread, because what was happening is when we were up close, in here, I'm not going to be able to split this belt line, and I'm not going to get neuromuscular incapacitation, which basically locks up the body, if I don't get enough spread. So that's the top laser, okay? The reason they call them smart cartridges is when I load this, is that okay that I'm not next to the microphone? When I load this and turn it on, now there's two. Okay, so this is the close one. So if I'm here, I can split the belt line, and this is where the engagement is. All right. That's not to say they might not back up when they see a taser pointed at them. The second step of de-escalation with these tasers is you don't have to take the cartridge off. All you have to do is this. That's all you have to do. So that's your next de-escalation is. So if he backs up, now look where the spread is. I'm probably gonna miss it. Well, these taser cartridges are basically, you can put them together like Lego blocks. You can use one standoff, one close quarter, 2 standoffs, 2 close quarters. So I've got it stacked in here to where the close quarter comes on first in case we're engaging something. If he starts to move on me and I back up and my spread gets too far, all I've got to do is this, and it goes to the standoff cartridge. It's actually got a gyrometer inside the taser. So all you do to switch cartridges is. So it gives us so much more advantages. Also, this package, the battery picture. Also, the batteries on these are rechargeable. We don't have to buy batteries anymore. We used to have to, once a month, they would have to physically bring their taser in. I plug the cable into the bottom of it, physically download all the data off of that taser to show that they're spark testing it every day. That they're, if there was a deployment, how long the taser was deployed, how many cycles and so on. Now, when their battery gets low, which they're supposed to, with these batteries, they're supposed to be changed out at least once a month, regardless of the level of battery. So when they pop this into the charging bank, everything on there uploads to Evidence Sync. So that's gone now, and we don't have to buy batteries. Miss anything? Sure.
I think that's about it, yeah. You covered it all.
You guys got any questions?
One thing you mentioned yesterday about the parts of the body that grabs a hold of and shuts them down.
Yes, sir.
Can you break that down for them? That way they've got a better understanding of.
So you need at least 12 inches spread to get neuromuscular incapacitation, which basically is the sensory motor nerves that it shuts down. What happens is there's approximately 50,000 volts coming out of it, but the amperage is low. Okay, construction guys kind of understand that. The amperage is low, so there's no danger of somebody getting electrocuted. All right, it's like a drip from a faucet instead of just full blast out of the faucet. But what happens is that pulse is so fast, and I'll show you the difference. This one is 19 pulses per second, and the new one is 22. So this is the cycle rate on the old one. And this is the cycle rate on the new one. There's a big difference. They just made so many improvements on it, but you're more likely to get neuromuscular incapacitation with that higher cycle rate. Also, the probes on these new cartridges are so superior to the old ones that you don't get clothing disconnects. These old cartridges, if somebody's wearing like a loose jacket and you target this area right here, you're going to have a good chance to get the clothing disconnect, that's usually what causes tasers not to work, is for probe placement, things like that, because they only had one laser and you couldn't tell where the bottom probe was going to go. Now you got two. But if the top probe went in this, even if you got a good probe in the leg and the top probe went in this jacket and it's flopping, you're not going to get in and out. You're not going to get anything. It's just going to arc real loud. They're going to be charging you. You may get, when the jacket falls away and comes back, you may get a circuit. Basically, it's got a complete circuit. That's all there is to it. And when it completes that circuit in your muscles, that's what causes the NMI. It shuts down the nerves.
Any questions? Chairman, any action?
Well, but Sheriff, you got any more?
Other than the information that you.
Okay, so we got the information yesterday that you gave us, which was, it's a total of the 66,260.69, which we're going to be able to do in payments of 13,252.14 yearly. And that's what they suggested. Court, at yesterday's meeting, if we don't act on this and maybe wait till after the first year, there's going to be a 5% for sure increase. And we already know that, how everything's going now, that it's wonder it's not even more than that. So he has talked to the committee a couple different times on this and got with us yesterday. You all seen, it's in his budget. Because it's 13,000, it's not going to be but the motion would be we'll make the motion for the full amount, but it'll be in payments of 13,252.14.
So we have a motion.
So the motion,
We have a second, and just to clarify for the court, we should be able to utilize some of our alcohol money, just not sure what percentage of that we would be, so.
Does our old tasers have any value?
They do, Squire, and I've talked to the company about that. What we're going to do is rotate those to court security, because once that Taser unit, the first one he showed you, the X26P. Once the company takes that off their production line, we can get parts for it for 5 years. So that one will go across the street to court security. They have no tasers there.
Any other questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed.
All right, thank you, Sheriff.
Nick Morgan, appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay, I want to entertain a motion, take a 5-minute break.
I'll make that motion.
Second. All right, we're gonna take a 5-minute break. Be right back.
Looks like, oh no. Damn, man.
31, let's say, you know.
I'm not hurt.
Just to let everyone know we're back live again.
One time I had 28 pounds. Really? I was young. I was walking. I know about the walk.
She may be like that.
I just don't think it's done. And I'm not, and what bothers me is everybody getting up, acting like I'm not open.
Once you got it, so you sell it.
I would have never.
I do try to go up 2 hours.
Good job. Get some.
Richard, are you sure? Well, Tracy, we back on?
Yes, sir. We're back on live, sir.
Okay, motion to go back in open session. Riddle,
Second.
Bowman, so we're back in open session. So, Chairman, I think we've got to the code changes of the
We're
administrative.
at line item 3 on my committee, me and Mark and Billy Houch's committee, administrative code changes, and I'm going to turn that over to our county attorney, Miss Catherine.
Okay, so I'm asked to prepare ordinances, so that we would have on the books a credit card usage policy for the county. And it's my understanding that this would be used for things such as, to reserve a hotel reservation if going to a training for work purposes, or for the training registration fee in and of itself. So I have done that. All of you have the ordinance in front of you. I will say that there was a typo. Thank you for templates. I think the top of your credit card policy ordinance actually has animal control written in the title, and that will be corrected before it's signed. But does anyone have any questions with regard to this credit card policy?
I had one question.
Yes, sir.
Is there a limit on the credit card?
I think we can put it in this. We can choose to do that, yeah. And Squire Roman, I'm not sure if we already have the credit card. That's, okay. So that would be up to the creditor on what the limit would be, or are you asking if there going to be a financial limit on with regard to someone's usage of it?
Well, I guess both. First of all, is there going to be an amount set for that credit card, and then I guess an amount per usage of that?
Well, the use of the credit card, as you can see in the credit card policy, will all have to come through the treasurer's office. It will have to be pre-approved, and there will be purchase vouchers and receipts that are required in order to maintain that its use is specifically for the authorized use that was sought. They have to get permission to use it before they use it. So you have to know the purpose beforehand.
Okay.
The treasurer would have to approve that.
All right,
So
so-
there's accountability.
All right, I understand that, but has there been an amount, has the court set an amount for the credit card? Well, we need to do that part.
You got a motion?
Make that motion.
I'll say, I moved it. We've got to set amount for this credit card. It can't be an open.
Do you have an amount?
Well, I'm gonna yield to the treasurer just for a minute. I want her thoughts on what that amount should be.
Treasurer?
I guess, are you allowed to do that?
Well, it all depends, I think, on the time of the year when everybody is going to these conferences and things like that. that we would have to, pay hotels and conference fees and things that they don't want to wait for a check or may not accept a check from us on. So, I mean, Carl just asked me, a $10,000 limit. That would be way plenty, I would assume, because of course it would be paid on a monthly basis. I just don't know. It's hard for me to say, how much would be spent in a month. It just depends on the time of year and what's going on.
All right. I understand that and I appreciate your input there, but we're trying to establish them out here, so. Okay, I'm gonna make a motion. We put a $10,000 limit on the credit card. And if we have to raise that, we'll bring it back to the court. We'll go 15. So that's my motion. We have a second, Measure Dickerson. Any other questions?
Does anybody have to fact check this? I mean, does a judge, do you approve this prior to it being, do you look at this prior to it being issued?
The credit card?
Wherever.
All credit cards are signed out with Ms. Houchins. They have to be signed out. Yeah. Like right now, they're just using their personal credit card and being reimbursed by the court.
This credit card, nobody will take it out of the office. It will not leave the office. They will have to present a PO for whatever they want. And then I will personally either make a phone call, reserve a room. So it will not leave the building.
I don't know. I think that everybody's taking the thing to do. In terms of this, it's working for years. I mean, I'm sorry, it's complicated. I feel like the complicated with the credit card and make it convenient for elected officials. It's never been a deal for me. I don't think it's a deal for anybody sitting on this court to have to pay for training. Swell.
Okay, Sheriff.
Could you speak into the microphone?
They couldn't hear you down on this end, Fred. Sorry about that.
I think Mr. Murray has followed after me, because I was one of the parties that was pushing this, and here's what happened to us. We have a lot of officers. Obviously, we're mandated to 40 hours training each year, and many of the hotels have quit taking a direct payment contract from the court. They will no longer take a check. And years past, I agreed with you. We called the hotel. We said, hey, our guy's going to be staying there 5 days. It's going to be, I don't know, $800, whatever. We cut a check. We delivered on the day of arrival. No more. They've canceled all that. So our alternative was to use our own credit cards. Well, we've tried that some, but then it got into complications and we had double chargings and just a variety of things. So I was one of the opponents of pushing that forward to try to get security of hotel reservations and things of that nature. So I just want to talk to that. I think Mr. Murray has a situation that he got into.
And plus, I think this is identifying something in the audit as it relates to POs as well. I'm not sure. Jenny, does anything come out of the audit on this?
No, I did check with other treasurers about this because most every other county has a credit card for that use.
Okay.
But as long as I ask about auditing purposes and as long as you follow, your ordinance, the auditors do not have a problem with it.
Okay, thank you.
Here's where let's go back to where I told you we had to make bill rooms for the umpires. This is local, just a local motel here. They told me they could not build the rooms unless I gave them a check 2.5 weeks in advance. Well, I didn't know how many rooms we were going to need until 3 days prior to the tournament because I didn't know how many umpires would come. So I said, okay. I said, what about cash? She told me, yes, cash would be fine. Then Jenny and I, this was so many terrible headaches. I had to go to cash. They said, oh, we can't accept that because they can charge stuff to their rooms and things like that for movies, for drinks, for different things like that. I said, well, that would be them leaving the credit card there. They said, we have to put it in the person's name that they got the room. Well, we were responsible for that. They would not take cash. I had to go to Walmart and get these prepaid credit cards. It's a mess. Me and Jenny's still working on trying to get it. It's all figured out, money's there, but it was a mess to try to get everything together. And then we go back to guys pouring paper this morning. They don't take paper for nothing. check, cash, anything. When I sign up for like, state tournaments, we gotta pay out for state tournaments. I've got a week to make that payment because they don't set that bill for me until a week. And then I've gotta wait and come in and get approval for certain dollar amounts and things like that, to where the credit card will be swiped and you can pay for it and things of that nature. So, I mean, the credit card would be useful at the parks, very, very useful. Her being in control, nobody spends it without her knowledge. As far as receipts, POs, as soon as we get it. So I know we're just, the world's changed. It's just, paper's not worth anything anymore. Cash money's not worth anything anymore. So, you know, they want it, they want a card. So it's up to them.
With your explanation, that clarifies, changes the position a little bit, but I still think that, you know, those things can still happen. The county lays out the credit card. So they can still charge things. So it's gonna have to really be. You know, just have to really keep a close eye on. That's all I got.
Okay, we've got a motion. We have a second. Any other questions, discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Okay. Now we need did we already have a motion for the ordinance? The limit. Okay, now we need a motion for the actual ordinance.
I make a motion for the Barren County credit card policy to go by the guidelines that the county attorney has printed out in front of us with that change she's gonna make.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any questions on the ordinance? This is first reading. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed.
Okay, thank you. The next thing I was asked to prepare was an ordinance relating to personnel policies. And specifically, we wanted to put in writing and get on the books that we adopt whatever the federal guidelines are for COVID pay. And also adopting the CDC guidelines for return to work policy for COVID. Now, I will tell you that as it stands right now, the most recent act that provided COVID pay relief federally expired December 31st of 2020. So there's not actually anything out there now. And you may ask yourself, well, why do we need to put this in right now? And I guess that's just to say, we didn't specify the act, we just said whatever the federal guidelines are, because this is a fluid situation and seems to ebb and flow as far as what's going on in the world with COVID, or if there's any future issues. This would just mean that instead of having to address it as a court, like call a special meeting, we're just saying if the federal government enacts something that provides relief to their employees, that we would adopt those same guidelines. I just wanted you to understand that currently there isn't any federal relief. All of that has expired.
Action.
Judge, I'll make a motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Sir, have a second. Questions?
We discussed it.
Yes. I forgot who discussed it, but somebody. Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Uniform policy.
With regard to the uniform policy, we do not have a contract for you yet. I am working on that. Jenny had asked me about, there are several departments that provide the employees with uniforms, and those are not always returned. And when I say uniforms, I'm talking uniforms and sometimes equipment as well. And so upon expiration of employment with that agency, a lot of times we're not getting those uniforms back, which is a cost to the department, therefore a cost to the county. And so We thought it would be a good idea, actually Jenny thought it would be a good idea to include in the pre-hiring packet for future employees, so this will be from this point moving forward. All employees who are hired will sign an acknowledgement of liability for those uniforms should they fail to return them within 5 business days of their last day of employment. That those costs are going to vary, and so that's really what I'm working on with the contract, is to write it in a way that the smallest amount would be covered, or the most amount would be covered. But I think we're about there, and I've gotten some information from Susan, the Treasury Department has provided me their costs for uniforms. And I need to I'll get some information from Jailer Bennett as well, and any other departments that we will have.
Okay, so if I'm understanding correctly, then, as far as the uniforms, we would let that employee know that was either going to another job or being, or no longer going to be employed with us, that they had 5 days to return those uniforms, and if not, then X amount of dollars would be subtracted to their last check, correct?
That is not the way the contract is written. The way the contract is written is simply that they would be liable. I don't have it written as it being a deduction of their paycheck, of their final check. That is something that we can discuss. It's my understanding that federal law does allow for us to do that. But there's a little clarification there. I mean, federal law says that if you deduct the amount of the uniforms, what's left of their paycheck can't be less than what minimum wage would be for the hours that you're paying them for. I think that gets a little, I think that's going to be difficult accounting wise for the departments and also for Ms. Hoffman. So we wrote it more as an acknowledgement of liability for that amount. But I'm certainly open to suggestions, and we can do whatever the court prefers. I'm just
Can I add
If there's
something
no-
to that?
If there's no penalty, how many people are involved?
Well, sometimes we don't even know. Sometimes they get their last paycheck before that 5 days will expire, so there's no way of us knowing if they've turned them in or not.
And this acknowledgement would say that they could be held liable in court, and then they would be responsible for any filing fee or having to take the matter to court and obtain lien or judgment against them.
Well, I sort of understand part of this, but not all of it. And where I'm not understanding all of it is, there has to be, if we want to put the acknowledgement in there, that's one thing. But which is fine, but let's hold them accountable too. And to Jenny's point, our treasurer, she said they may already be gone before we know. But in those cases where we do know, and there's got to be, I would think, hopefully a balance there, is many that we know about that we don't know about, that there could be some recovery there. And I think if we institute that policy, and then that can be communicated when they're hired.
I think that's an excellent point, Squire Bowman, and I think that's why we don't actually have a contract for you all to have first reading on yet. This is still a discussion that needs to be had among members, and those suggestions and things that you want to include, and now's the time to discuss that. And I will write the ordinance however I'm told.
So I'm planning a special call meeting next week. So if you guys want to get with the county attorney and give her your suggestions, do so. How you'd like to see that structure, and we'll vote on that next week. How about that?
Rather than just hold that uniform deposit, why couldn't we just hold the check till they break the uniforms back in?
I don't think you can do that.
I do not believe federal law allows us to do that.
Okay. Okay. Catherine, thank you for your report. And as the judge said, we'll be following up on this as in a special call. So masters, anyone that wants to write down a few notes on that to help her make up that policy would be great. I'm going to move on down to line item 4. We had our committee meeting yesterday. We talked for quite a bit on this line item, and Krista gave her first little update, and she gave us a paper today on update on what's going on there. Judge, I don't know very much what do you want to comment on?
If Krista has anything else to add, that's.
I feel like most questions have been asked. I'll send all of you all my email and cell number after this meeting, and feel free to contact me anytime.
I will add that there was a few comments earlier and even before today about the ambulance service, and they came in on our committee, the director, and presented a backlog of labor, I guess. And did he get that to you, Krista?
Yes. I have
Okay,
it.
and our committee is wanting to support that. And I don't know, Judge, if we got to have any action or just wait till Krista puts that together as we meet with her as much as the court wants to meet with her.
I feel like what you do outside the county on payrolls that you don't really have control over is gonna be a lump sum awarded to those entities. And then they are responsible for making sure that's what it is spent for.
I guess the main thing is making sure that all the court members are in favor of, you know, he presented that. We want to make sure that to move forward with that. So I guess while we're talking about that, does any court members have any problems with that being presented to Krista to eventually give us a number that we can look at to support them?
Sounds good to me.
I did list on so I'm just gonna add to this every time what you guys have decided, what you're looking at. And down here, these are just things that have been brought to the court, that have been brought to my attention, just future possibilities, things for you to think about. So, yeah, I hope that's helpful.
One question I had, Krista, is when will we get an exact number on the lost revenue amount?
Should be in time.
And my understanding that can be put back in the general fund.
Yes, I mean, it has to be used for the purposes that this money was intended, but
Oh, it does?
it is broader than premium pay. I mean, it's broader than the specific things there, so.
I was misled then by someone else. I thought if it went back to general fund, we could use it for blacktop or road improvements or.
I've read it both ways, but no. If it's not an allowable expense for this federal money, then. But it gives you guys more money to go and bring you pay, the ambulance service, those kind of projects.
It's gonna be on top of that, whatever.
No, it's part of that.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you, Chairman Watts. Building Property Committee, Chairman.
An update on the courthouse exterior repairs, the old courthouse. I think it looks great. We've made some changes on the front that I know everybody's gonna have opinions about what color the letters should be, or I think it looks good personally. Most people I've talked to do. It's like anything else in government, you're gonna make some happy and some not happy. They're probably, I'm not gonna say half done, but I would guess there had to hold up on we found a considerable amount of damage on the gables that we did not know that was there. It was a additional expense that we presented to the AOC that was over what we had budgeted to do, and they have agreed to pay that. It was where there were some clay tiles. I think they were clay, but on, a lot of people probably never even noticed them on either side, and a lot of rot under those. We actually had some tiles left over from when it was first remodeled in 2000. So we had the tiles, but there's a lot of wood that has to be replaced under there. So we had to wait on that approval before we could even start on that. If anybody has any questions about it, feel free to email me, call me, or whatever. We'll see what we can do. I think we're doing the right thing by covering. I know a lot of people would prefer just painting, but that's something that has to be done every few years. And I think we really want to preserve the courthouse. I think we're doing the right thing. Some of it will still be painted. The doors and some of the stuff that can't be covered will still be painted.
The PVC boards.
Yes, on the front where the letters were attached, we had some discussion on. We did some trial runs of vertical and horizontal siding to cover that. We decided to go with a PVC board that's not rot. It will not rot, and it will last forever. Well, I don't want to say forever, all of our lifetime, but and originally the letters did have a red cast to them, and they turned black over time with tarnish, just being tarnished. So I think the red letters look good, but I'm not a designer, so I mean, I'm sure some people disagree with that, but that's what's behind the letters, and they're mounted to that. Any questions or anything else you want to add?
Well, anything that we do, each corner that we turn, we have the Historic Preservation Committee will come over to, so we get their blessing on it. So.
And it is a beautiful building, and we want to preserve it, and we want it to look good. We want it to look historical, and I think we're making the right steps in that. Any questions on that? Next line items. Former jail demolition project rebid. I think we might have spoke on this last. No, did we speak on this last meeting? I guess we did. We discussed it. What happened? We had requested bids for the demolition of the old jail. We do have a grant for those monies to do that. We hired a consulting firm, which RBS Design Group, to take care of all of that. They were sent out the bids. I was there when they did the bidding actually, but still it's their job to take care of all that, get the procurement procedure correctly. You know, we just went through this with the courthouse. It was their job, not ours. They made a mistake because we have a weekly paper. They didn't understand the exact dates it had to be submitted to be in the paper the next week. They were a day off, so the requirements were not met, which is really sad because we had already opened the bids, and which makes it very unfair. But we were required by the grant to rebid it because the procurement procedure was not handled correctly by them, not us. So we had to rebid it. We had 3 bids originally. When we rebid it, of course, everyone knew what the low bid was, and we had accepted that. And but by law, we had to have it rebid. We opened those bids yesterday. We received 2 bids of 2 of the same people that bid the first time. Of course, like I'm saying, they knew what the low bid was, which is really not fair. The people that initially got the job rebid at the same dollar amount, as they did previously. Another entity bid approximately $7,000 less because they knew what the bid was, which is terrible. So we made a motion in our committee meeting to give the bid to the people that had it the first time, because we thought that was the right thing to do, because even though it was nobody's fault, it's just the right thing to do. But we've been notified since by Brad, and since it is a grant, that we have to accept the low bid, which knocks the people that had the low bid eventually out of the ball game. I didn't get a chance to talk to the county attorney, but I know most people think that, well, that's the way we need to go, but it's just not in myself. I just don't think it's right. If my thoughts is if they could have bid $7,000 lower this time, they could have bid it the first time. But I don't know if there's any way we can reject all bids and have, I don't know legally what we can do to do the morally right thing. Is there any way out of that, Ms. County Attorney?
I'll follow up on what, I'm in that committee with Carl, and we did talk about that. You know, we got to sign papers end of the year on ethics, and Mr. Pack, you know, and even though our committee wants to do the right thing, when we sign that ethics, and that's just exactly what we're talking about here, we will have to go against what, or I'm going to have to go against. I'm going to go what the email that we got, that we have to accept a low bid. But for me to keep the ethics right on what I've signed, so what do you do, county attorney? Because we don't want to miss the grant, but we got ethics here that we got to, I value that more than the grant at this time, just to be honest. So.
And I can understand that principal position. It is my understanding that you will have to go below bid if you want to keep the grant.
Is there any possible way that we could do anything for these other guys? I mean, I'm just brainstorming here. There's some way we could compensate them, you know, for, and not monetary, maybe. I'm just looking for things to do the right thing. That's all.
Guys, just make a motion to not accept these bids. Let's find out something to do with the jail. I mean, come on. This is the procurement that the local media has busted our chops about not following the rules and guidelines. We have followed them. We've been advised, so we might as well just cancel it, send the grant back, and just hope they send us another grant in the near future.
I'm gonna make a motion that we, and I don't like it, it's a tough deal for me to swallow, and I will sever ties with these folks because I do some business with them, and I'll let them know how I feel about it. It's a low blow, but I'm gonna make a motion that we accept the bid, the low bid, because we need to get rid of the old jail. But what comes around goes, that's all I'm gonna say about that.
Very well put. Is that your motion?
It is.
Okay, we have a motion to accept the low bid.
Second.
We have a second, Master Houchins. Any other questions, discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Squire Bowman,
I'm going to have to vote no.
Squire Sarton,
No.
Squire Houchins,
Yes.
Squire Bott,
No,
Squire Riddle.
Yes.
Squire Dickerson.
No.
Squire Hammer,
No.
Judge Taylor.
Yes. Okay, the notes have it.
All right.
Next.
Oh, so these two. Okay, the bid openings, I guess we need to legally give the amount of those bids, do we?
We've done moved past that.
Okay, I'm sorry, I missed that. West Main Street building plans. We do have some drawings. I don't know, does Tracy have, if we already showed that last meeting? We have some drawings of what the building could possibly look like, our child support offices that would be built adjacent to our county attorney's office. So they have an all-in-one office there, and we don't not split up. There's a lot of different ideas what we could do with the upstairs. I'm not, at one time it was considered maybe having a safe house or a place for people whose house burned or whatever to live. I'm not sure that's a great idea, but I think we could always use the space for something as storing voting machines or some type of storage, and there's could be expansion. We might need more room at the county attorney's office later, or child support as the county grows, who knows? But I think it would be silly not to go ahead and get the bids on putting the upstairs there, and then we can always decide what to do with it later, but we definitely need the downstairs area. I'm gonna put in the form of a motion that we get bids for that, not building anything. Hopefully we can look into, I'm sure if there's any way that we could use the ARPA money that Krista could figure it out. But I'm just saying, if there's any way that we may possibly use some of that, that would be great. If not, we're still going to be where we're paying, the state's paying for the rent on the building now, that we would receive that instead of, having to rent a place. So
I second that motion. Okay, so we need to clarify that motion, because you said you want a motion to take bids, but not to build anything.
Yeah, we're gonna take bids.
Okay.
But we're not voting on to build it right now.
Okay.
Right?
All right, we have a motion and a second.
Read the motion.
Okay.
Guys, if we're gonna get bids, it's not really, we're just talking about being fair. It's not really fair because if I spend all the money to get bids, I'm gonna build it.
Well, I'm with you, Pastor Dixon.
I don't think we need to build it, but it's still not fair.
I mean, bids is, we get bids, we move on with the project. We're gonna wind up like we were just a second ago, having to rebid. Next thing you know, it's not gonna be fair. So does this court want to build it? That's the question. Are we gonna build it? Because we've talked about it enough.
Well, I mean, I'm with, if Tim's mind's with mine, we're just talking about getting quotes. Nobody said we wasn't gonna.
No, we're
build it.
bidding it. We're bidding it.
Well, yes, we're bidding it, but that,
I get those two.
but if you get bids, 10 bids, it ridiculously, you're obligating, we're gonna have to build. We're just getting bids. I have to bid all
So
the
I
time.
didn't
That
change
don't
it to
mean I'm gonna get it.
Okay, so
I'm sorry.
So you want
I
to
get
track that motion, change it to quotes.
That's my fault. I get those two confused. I'm gonna have to study up to get quotes. My motion, I made my motion.
And I second.
And you want to second that? All right, any questions in that? This is just to get quotes.
Yes.
What we
Yeah, call the roll, please.
Bar Sargent,
Yes.
Bar Algen.
Yes.
Bar Hodge.
Yes.
Bar Riddle.
Yes.
Bar Dickerson.
No.
Bar Kilmer.
Yes.
Bar Baldwin.
Yes.
No. Okay, yes, it's happened. Anything else, Chairman?
Uh,
I think that's all that's on your list.
That's all. It's on.
Okay, we'll move on to the jail committee. Chairman Sark.
Jail committee met yesterday. We have a Supreme Court ruling that's kind of got us in the problem of the jail. Now, Aaron, tell us about it.
I feel like I need to tell a joke or something like everything else. I mean, we'll get to that. I think we'll pass on some good news. We did have a jail committee, or not jail committee meeting, but we did have one of those. But I had a jail inspection recently, and myself and the judge got email. We only got hit on 2 things, guys. That's outstanding. Overcrowded. We have more than 170 people, and the other one was, right now we don't have an AA instructor. Besides that, there's some good news.
I got the
You know?
report. I got the report. It's good.
What was the last?
We don't have an AA instructor right now. We're called an office instructor. That's the only two things the whole deal got. They don't have all the things they check. So there's some good news. Everybody's good now. Supreme Court ruling. Basically on this, guys, what it is we're changing how we accept our fees for housing and booking and whatnot. Basically what happened, to make a long story short, somebody was in jail somewhere in the state. And what happened was he was found not guilty. After he was found not guilty, he wants to move on with his life. And all of a sudden, the jail says, you still owe us this amount of money. He said, hey, I didn't do it. I'm an innocent man. And it's gone through and he got appealed and everything else. They fought for it. And Supreme Court ruling came down, says basically you don't owe the money, pay any money, pay it back. So that's where we're kind of at with that right now. And doing so, of course, the Kentucky Jail Association, everybody else is kind of up in arms and trying to figure out what to do. Because everything just kind of changed overnight on a Thursday evening. So myself and Judge Hale, we spoke a little bit, and it may come down to eventually, not today, but eventually just opening up a separate bank account. So whenever we accept those housing fees and those booking fees, it's in a separate bank account in case we do have to reimburse somebody once the case is either dismissed or found not guilty, or the long process of pre-trial diversion that lasts usually about 3 or 4 years. So that's just kind of where we're at. I'm just kind of passing on information right now. And then also with that, if any of this stuff does go on, I put on here too that we'll have to do some policy changes on how we accept our fees. So it's just kind of more of a information. And I spoke with the district and the circuit judges here in Barren County, and they're going to try to send over the orders and whatnot, like when somebody's guilty, not guilty, everything like that. So we can kind of keep track. But I will tell you, it's going to make it a full-time job. That's a lot of work that all the jails are going to have to do with this. The way that everything goes. It's gonna be a lot of work, gonna be a learning process, and I'm sure we'll get the treasurer involved with it too, even though she's looking away from it right now. But that's where we're at on that. So I just want to kind of throw that out there to you. We may be having some changes on how we collect fees. The next thing.
Okay, we have on the next item, a contract worker.
Yeah, contract worker, this would be for our programs. Kelly Nadell Soto, she is the one that gives the programs at the jail and everything like that. We're wanting to introduce a couple more programs. Reentry one is one, and another one's a relapse program. And in doing so, Kelly only has so many hours right now. She's a part-time employee. And sitting down and speaking with Kelly, basically we take her off from being a part-time employee and put her under a contract employee. I gave a kind of a copy. Of course, the county attorney would have to look at it and everything and speak with her on it. But having a contract employee, basically she can come in, do her classes and whatnot. Right now we have 30-day classes, 60-day classes, 90-day classes, and kind of break those down. The more classes that we do, the state wants completion of those. Like if you complete a 30-day class, you get $300. 60-day class, $600, 90-day class, $900. So it's just another way to bring revenue. And at the same time, Kelly would be paid completely 100%. Of course, the county will pay her. We will reimburse the county back with commissary. Just everything she's doing is strictly with them. And that's also going to include the paperwork sent off to DNC to get that money in. That's just something. And once again, this is me just saying, I'm going to take this to the county attorney. Hopefully she can look at this contract and say, whoa, obviously I'm not an attorney. I know it's hard to believe, but she is. She'll look at it. They can do some adjusting and whatnot, and then bring it back.
The next item is increased cost of food.
Yes, the food, our kitchen, our Kelwell contract. Of course, I think we all eat in here. We go to the grocery store and whatnot. We see the inflation. Food's going up. When they came to me, I gave you a copy of the letter. The president of the company, John, he came to me personally and delivered this. I was thinking maybe it was like a Christmas bonus. It was not. It's the complete opposite. I've been in talks with John up until yesterday morning before I came up here for the committee meetings. And John has agreed to do a 2.5% instead of a 5%. And he has, for all his states and everything, has did a 5% across the board. From what he told me, some higher, 8-10%. Speaking with him and just through negotiations with him, he said for Barren County he would do a 2.5.
You know how much that amounts to in a year's time?
Well, 5% is about 13,000, I believe, so, 2.5, about $6,000. And we only pay for the food that's served. I don't want you to think that, they buy all this stuff. We only pay per tray. So if they waste, because that's my problem, me and John went out there, pictures sent to him, I'm like, I'm not paying for this. This is food wasted. I'm not paying for it. And basically how the contract, we just pay for the actual food served per tray, which I knew that, but I don't want to see food wasted and whatnot. And that's for him and his employees, and he's like the runs on that. But I got him to agree at 2.5, that's fine.
Yeah, I do appreciate, you negotiating with him, negotiating that down. That's good news. But I have a question with, of course, with Kelwell, is that a year by year contract we have with them? And then what's the time frame, with their current contract?
Yes, it is. And we renew it every year.
Well, are price increases included? I mean, are they obligated to keep a certain price for a certain period of time with us?
It's kind of lenient. They have come down at times with prices, but at this time, of course, with food going up, I kind of understand, it's going up and they're trying to keep their business open.
Do we need a motion to accept this 5% increase or the 2.5% increase?
The jail committee met yesterday, and the jail committee decided that we would authorize you to get this contract signed.
Well, wait a minute. I have the contract here. The court has already approved the contract. This is that you guys approved and that I signed. And what it says, and Jailer Bennett has done exactly what the contract said, that if there's any negotiation between the detention center and Kelwell, that's been done, and they sent that to you in writing or oral, and that's been done. I think what he's asking here is, do we approve the 2.5% increase in this? And Measure Bone, were you done with what you were asking?
Well, my question is that, does Kelwell obligate to their prices for a certain period of time? In other words, through our fiscal year end June the 30th, are they obligated to keep that same price without the same?
I think there's a little bit of leeway in there that they can adjust prices, like food cost goes up.
Okay.
It's unfortunately right now, I can't even take it anymore.
Judge, man, I understand that, but if we have a contract with them and they've agreed to maintain that price through June the 30th, then they should honor that. But if there's a clause in there, that's it.
Just get ready to read it.
Yeah, here's what it says on payment. Barren County Detention Center shall pay Kelwell the agreed upon price, which y'all negotiated. He's coming back to us saying this is the new agreed price, which is a 2.5% increase. The fiscal arrangements of this agreement are based on conditions existing on the date of Kelwell's operations, including the facility's resident population, the availability of the residents' labor, food, and supply costs, federal, state, and local sales, and other taxes, and the operation cost. In the event of a change in these conditions, either party may request a revision of the fiscal arrangements to reflect the change.
My only problem is I think we've already had this at the road department where they tried to increase the price of the oil in the middle of the contract. Didn't we have that?
Yeah, they signed an agreement for 6 months.
Right.
There's no negotiation.
Right.
Last 6 months.
Yeah, right. I guess my concern, and I think we need to do this, but what good's a contract anymore? I mean, if we keep letting people out of them, it's sad. But I'm not saying I'm against this, but it's eventually going to get sad that contracts are.
Well, the difference between this one and what we do at the transportation department is we specifically put that wording in there, and it's specifically not in here. It's just the negotiation between the two.
I understand. I'm just making that comment, I guess, and just need to keep it out.
All right, Manager Riddle?
Is it my turn for part?
No. You're just gonna make a motion. You're gonna make a motion.
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
so we're gonna need a motion.
We do for the increase.
Okay, I make a motion that the said bill was 2.5% increase. and move forward.
Okay, we have a motion. Second, we have a second, Master Bots. Any other questions, discussion?
Where is the money gonna come from? I guess the 2.5%.
It's in there.
Okay.
That was my main concern, is we should still be mindful of that. And right now, our local judges have really worked with us. Our inmate population right now, I believe this morning we're at 211. That's less miles to feed. Yeah, the price does go up a little bit, how it's worked in there, but it's cheaper. Our inmate population is down. I'm on at 320, trying to beat that man down to 211 right now. So they've been very helpful. And this is probably the lowest our county inmates have been in a long time. I'm not saying that their local law enforcement isn't gonna go out tonight and arrest it, but as of this morning, that's where we're at.
There's certain things that are beyond their control and beyond our control, and when you speak about road department materials, we're talking about oil. You can't really hold your people's feet to the fire with oil going to skyrocket high overnight. It's just the world we live in right now. Inflation is killing. And if you start holding people's feet to the fire and they start losing money, guess what? They're not going to be able to next year. So you have to have some, there has to be some kind of arrangement there within reason. And I think when you started out negotiating at 5%, you ended up at 2.5%. That seems like a good number. I think it was well executed.
Okay, any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you.
Anything else? Parks and Recreation, Chairman Riddle, you're up.
So, I guess everybody's aware of the grant, the land and water grant that we received to rework the existing waterway that exists out of Jackie Browning Court and repair the road, stop the erosion by reworking the ditch. So I gave everybody a piece of paper here and a little bit of a breakdown on it. So the estimate from American Engineers, and it's more of a just a cost evaluation to rework this ditch. And this was given to us prior to us applying for the grant. Their cost evaluation for this project was $49,025, and that's what we based our grant on, I would suppose. And now that estimate, or their cost evaluation estimate, whatever you want to call it, has not changed. I met with Richard last week, and it is still the same, and it is a estimate. Now, there's some things that have got to be done before we move forward with this work, because we have to have a stormwater plan in place, and we have to have a project development plan. The fourth project development plan is the package, and it will include the stormwater plan. So, long and the short of it is, the cost, the estimated cost to do the project is $49,025. The survey, design, the project development plan done by American Engineers is $7,500. You have an additional staking fee, an on-site visit fee of $2,500 per time they come to the site. The estimated cost for the earthwork for a new practice field that we're going to incorporate into this, and we're going to build a new practice field, take some pressure off of our playing fields. You know, the supply is greater. The demand is greater than the supply that we have right now. So I've added $10,000 based on the committee's recommendation. We've added $10,000 to do earthwork to create a new multi-purpose practice field for both football players and baseball players. So that total together comes to $69,025. Then if we deduct the land grant of $27,275, we need $41,750 to move forward these two projects. So I'm asking the court, and I make a motion that the court would give us a PO or the ability to spend $41,750 to do all these two projects at Jackie Barren Park.
Second. Okay, so we have a motion and a second, and so we're over our 30,000 procurement. We'll have to take bids. And then, we do know, and that, I'm gonna say Krista will be able to tell us, that the construction of that practice field should be able to come out of ARPA money, because it is for youth. So that 10,000 should be covered by that. And then the rest will be covered by the grant, and then whatever else we have out of pocket. So the long and short is we do need to take bids, because we are over the 30,000 procurement. So if we want to authorize to take bids, and be specific about what we want, it'd be my suggestion to pull that 10,000 out on that practice field, and we just do that as a separate, since it is below the 30,000, and we don't have to deal with that.
Well, the only problem we have with that is it all goes back to the stormwater design. And the practice field, if we do that, has to be incorporated into the project development plan so that we can get stormwater calculations.
Well,
so I think the first step would be to accept the project development plan by American Engineers for $7,500. Okay. And knowing that if they have to come out and do additional field work, it is $2,500. So we're looking at $10,000
okay.
to, I think that would be the first step, that we accept the project development plan from American Engineers for $10,000 to do the design and get it ready to put out for bids.
Is that your motion?
That is my motion.
Okay, we have a motion,
I second that.
and we have a second. Everyone understand the motion?
So we need to scratch the first motion.
Okay. Retract first motion.
You're making a motion at $10,000.
Making a motion to spend $10,000 for initial design work.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Chair.
And I think that's actually the first step, and that's really all we need to do at this point in time.
Okay, good deal. Excellent.
And then the next item we have is review the quotes for Jackie Barren's Great Range project, which we just did. And then we're gonna need to go in, I'm gonna make a motion that we go into closed session. Pursuant to KRS 61.810, deliberations on future accusations of real property when publicized would be likely to affect the value of a specific piece of property to be acquired for public use.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? We'll be in closed session.
Billy's buying everybody.
Good.
Wednesday, did you say? Yeah. On the courthouse.
Judge, just to let you know, we are back live, sir.
Okay. Okay, motion to go into open session.
I'll make that motion.
Motion.
Second.
Back in open session. Any action from closed session?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to authorize Judge Hill to move forward with negotiations to purchase property with intent use of the parks and recreation.
Second,
We have a motion, we have a second. Any other questions? Hearing none, roll call vote. Coomer.
Barr Hatchins,
Yes.
Barr Bot,
Yes.
Barr Riddle.
Yes.
Barr Dickerson. Barr Taylor,
yes.
Barr Bowman,
Yes.
Barr Carter.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. One thing that the county attorney wanted to finish in old business, she did not get to.
Well, actually, it was just, Squire Dickerson, you had early on in the meeting asked if we could meet in closed session with regard to the specifics of the premium pay, you know,
Yes.
specifically to individual employees. And I told you I would look into that. And I just thought, given the lengthy meeting, I've had some time to review the exceptions of the open meeting act. And I can tell you my initial thought was correct. We cannot, it wouldn't fall under any exception. We can meet with, in closed session for personnel actions, but it's limited to discussions or hearings about the appointment, discipline, or dismissal of individuals. So that would qualify, but just wanted to let you know, and the rest of the court. Uh-huh.
Okay, moving on to new business, approve the payments of claims as presented.
So moved.
We have a motion. Second. Got a second. Questions?
Yes, that includes the money. Premium pay. Your claims.
Opinion on that, Master Dickerson, it is in the claims, and we'll have to have an amendment for that.
Okay, well, I would like to make a motion to leave that out.
Okay, we are, we've got a motion to leave out the premium pay of these claims. So we have a second, Master Coomer. Any other questions on this? Roll call vote.
Barr Bot,
Read it again.
to leave out the premium pay of these claims.
No.
Barr Riddle.
Yes.
Barr Dickerson.
Yes.
Barr Coomer.
Yes.
Barr Bowman,
Yes.
Barr Carter,
Yes.
Barr Hatchins.
No.
Judge Hill.
No. Yes, it's had. Okay, so we're voting on the rest of the claims, and we've took out the premium pay claims.
Barr Riddle,
Yes.
Barr Dickerson.
Yes.
Barr Coomer.
Yes.
Barr Bowman,
Yes.
Barr Sarkis.
Yes.
Barr Hatchins.
Yes.
Barr Bot.
Yes.
Judge Hill.
Yes, thank you very much. Okay, approved transfer of funds.
Motion.
Master Box,
Second.
Master Riddle, questions?
Yes, I do. I've got some questions.
Very good.
I noticed a lot of those were, if Jeannie can expand on that a little bit. I noticed a lot of the transfers were, it seemed like you were correcting maybe accounting errors or something.
Most of them are, we get electronic deposits. And although we have submitted the different funds, everything used to be, of course, included in the general funds. I mean, it's split up all these accounts. We have given the correct accounts, but they do not always put them in the correct account. So I have to transfer the funds into the correct bank account.
So
I'm sorry.
if I could ask the question then, whose entries are you correcting now?
The banks,
The bank's entries?
yes. Well, the person who's depositing into the bank account deposits, like for the jail fund, they'll deposit the jail fund money into the general fund because the jail fund used to be part of the general fund and they have not corrected the bank account on their end. So when they deposit it into the general fund, I have to put it into the jail fund in the actual bank account. And that's where those transfers come from.
You got questions there?
I mean, it shows on the bank account. On the bank statement, it shows those being deposited into the general fund that should have gone to the jail fund. Same thing, drug forfeiture. On the correcting the July opening balance on the drug forfeiture. Same thing on the rec fund. In April of 2020 is when we had that software that just went crazy, and I don't know what happened to it. It messed up every account we had, and I couldn't pinpoint because I didn't know how far back it went back and messed stuff up. I couldn't pinpoint exactly, but I did my best. But just now, the drug forfeiture fund worked itself out. My accounting and drug task force accounting, we got together and I had not put the correct amount into their opening balance because of that mess up on that program. And I have all of the accounting to go back and prove that. So anyway, that's what those were for. Same thing with the rec department, exactly the same. Those have both finally worked themselves out, and now we are at the correct amount. So, I can show you everything we need to see if you want to look into it. It's fine. I don't mind.
Thank you. So it sounds to me like in total then, in total, we were correct, but you needed to do some adjusting within the departments.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. There was the dollar amount was correct. It's just what was put into the different funds.
Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Approved budget adjustment.
Motion.
We have a Mr. Botts,
Second.
Mr. Couchins, questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Approved monthly financial statement, October 2021, subject to all.
So moved.
Couchins.
Second.
Mr. Dickerson, questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Approved official settlements, October 2021, subject to audit, county attorney, county clerk, and the sheriff.
Motion.
Botts,
Second.
Mr. Bowman, questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Personnel actions,
So moved.
Mr. Bowman,
Second.
Mr. Couchins, questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, appointments. Pass on the cemetery board again. Extension District, I'd like to appoint Elaine Chenoweth and Cynthia Rowland. This will be for January, it'll start January 1 of 2022 and will run January 1, 2025. Make a motion.
Motion.
Second.
All right, second by Mr. Bowman's, questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, just, let me do a real quick recap here. As it relates to quotes on the county attorney, child support office, Master Coomer is going to take care of getting that done. Master Riddle is going to continue with the drainage grant project, and then what they have authorized me to do. Let's see. Also, I'm gonna go ahead and make the announcement, special call meeting next Tuesday, 11 a.m. Going to plan to have a transportation meeting before that. I've talked to Master Couchins about that. That's going to consist of part of a road that needs to be closed in District 3. So we'll get that process going. Hopefully to have the owners of Scotty's Corporation here to talk about that. And we'll, like I say, we'll get that process going. But we will have the transportation meeting before that. We'll go ahead and we'll get that time set up for you, but special call 11 a.m. Expect closed session. I believe that's all. So other than that, I'll entertain them. Yes.
We not vote on the resolution approving premium pay.
I voted to revote.
Okay. Revote.
Not on the resolution. I never saw it on. What's that?
Like to make a motion.
Make a motion.
We have a motion.
Second.
That we vote on the resolution.
Resolution.
Where's it? It's in there. It's in on your computer.
Mine went off the line for some reason. I can't get it back on.
Do you need a copy of that? Really?
Maybe it's going to get it back up. Okay, so this is the premium pay, correct? For the county workers.
Yes, Squire Bowman, this was the resolution that was prepared in accordance with the vote at the last meeting. You all are revisiting that issue at this time. It is my understanding the motion is, it's as if last meeting didn't happen and you all are voting all over it.
Okay, and just, right.
Got a motion and a second?
We do. Well, we got a motion. That's correct.
That's it.
We have a second, Master Coombs.
One comment, Judge, are you, our special session, we're gonna go back to business again?
Well, I hope we can get it done that quick. Yep, let's get it on the agenda. Okay, you want
I
to read?
wish everybody, I'm gonna get my question.
So if we vote yes on this, there's no need to have a special meeting. Is that correct?
Yes.
We still gotta have a special meeting?
No.
No, but no.
No means you're not accepting the resolution.
Right. At this time.
Not accepting resolution. That's kind of his motion.
At this time.
Resolution is not accepted this time.
So if
His
we don't
motion-
want to accept it, we won't get it.
Do what?
We don't want to accept it, we won't get it. This motion. Greg County Attorney.
Yes,
didn't
vote
go-
means
I
not
didn't go.
accepted.
Don't go to me.
Yes, vote means we're not
Squire
accepting.
Dickerson, will you restate your motion?
Please.
Yeah, that'd be-
Okay, so the yes vote means you accept it, the no vote means you do not.
Yes, vote means you
That
accept.
is my
I'm sorry, I'm confused.
Yes means we accept the premium pay. No means we do not.
For now, Rick.
All right, I'm with you. Let's go. All right, well, one comment, and I'm gonna shut up, I swear to God. I think that some words got twisted here today. I'm not in favor of not paying our county employees. And I want to make sure that when we pass this, that everybody gets what's due to them, not just our county employees. That's my position on this. Words have gotten mixed, and I'm not at all against paying our county employees. I think it is a great way to say thank you. We have the money, it's not costing us a penny. I want to make sure people don't get left behind. That's why I don't want to do this today. End of story.
You know what? Let's just all smile. It's been a tough meeting, kind of wore out. I got up this morning, didn't sleep at last night. I don't want to try to do right now, I don't think, but anybody reads or not, I didn't sleep any last night. My wife didn't sleep any.
I didn't know.
Carl, you know what? I love you. Ain't nothing you can do about it.
We don't need no wine.
I did not sleep any last night. I didn't want to think about this, but I do care. I do care. Even maybe I think I do, I think it's touch here, but I do care. So if you don't think I do, you don't know me.
But we're not going, I don't want to leave any of our county employees out, and we're not in this, what we've got proposed, but I don't want to mix and mingle other employees with our county employees. I want to make it clear that it's just for our county employees. And with that pie chart, we're not leaving. Yeah, we're going to take your suggestions of who we can legally pay, or give a donation to. So anyway, all right, so we're either voting for this resolution or we're voting against this resolution. So we need to read that resolution again. I know.
Yeah, I think so.
I read it.
Let's read it.
You need to vote, that's what you read.
Where's that taser? I need that taser. I need to be.
I don't have it.
It's on the raise fees. That's what you want. This resolution approving premium pay for essential county workers pursuant to the American Rescue Act, ARPA. Whereas Barren County hereby recognizes that the county workforce has performed exceptionally during the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, which began January 27th of 2020. The United States Congress passed the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, signed into law March 11, 2021, which provides individual counties an allotment of funds for the variety of purposes related to the pandemic. Whereas one of the ARPA permissible proposes is for premium pay for essential workers, which includes work performed by local government employees. Whereas premium pay means in part an amount up to $13.00 per hour in addition to wages, wages or remuneration, whatever the worker otherwise receives. Whereas Barren County recognized that all county employees, regardless of wage level, should be rewarded and incentivized for having provided and for continuing to provide exemplary service during the pandemic as pandemic risk cut across income levels. And Barren County wishes to reward and incentivize our employees by creating a program that recognizes exceptional work, whereas the Treasury urges counties to prioritize premium pay low and moderate income persons. Counties should prioritize low and moderate income persons with additional written justification needed for workers above 150% of the residing state's average annual wage for all occupations or their residing county's average annual wage, which is higher. So we're voting to do that. Yeah. Now, therefore, may it be resolved, the Barren County Fiscal Court, the County of Barren, Commonwealth of Kentucky as the follows. The county was allotted ARPA funds to be utilized for a variety of purposes relating to the pandemic. That's section 1. This is section 2. One of the ARPA's permissible purpose is essential workers premium pay. ARPA recognizes the county employees are essential workers, making county employees premium pay eligible. Section 3, the county has determined that as recognition of and as an incentive to provide exemplary work during the pandemic, all regular full-time and part-time county employees who were employed by the county on January 27, 2020, and who remain employed by the county at December 3rd of 2021 are hereby eligible to receive ARPA-funded premium pay for hours worked, excluding administrative leave, telework from home and Zoom, or other video conferencing work from home, in accordance to the ARPA premium pay guidelines. Premium pay for all regular, full, and part-time county employees shall be calculated at the rate of $5 per hour worked for the time period beginning January 27th and ending, that's January 27th, 2020, and ending August 28th, 2021. Furthermore, It is determined that elected county officials, though they are county employees, are hereby exempted from premium pay. That's what we're voting on to do. Madam Clerk? Roll call is yours.
Question.
Oh, yeah, y'all got a question?
We're gonna vote on premium pay now? So what that says? Yes.
That's correct.
I've been through so many.
We vote to accept this, it's premium pay. We vote not to accept this, no premium pay. Today. Any other questions? Madam Clerk?
Squire Dickerson,
No.
Squire Cameron.
No.
Squire Bowman,
Yes.
Squire Sargent,
No.
Squire House.
Yes.
Squire Mott,
Yes.
Squire Riddle.
No.
Judge Hale.
Yes. County Attorney?
What do you say about it?
You sure you want?
I don't know. Yeah, I heard it said.
I know what I did.
Well, I'm saying it say one, everyone. It was always just have it, why?
Hey, Tim, just find out about that. The meeting on the new courthouse. Last week. 1 o'clock here. 1 o'clock here. Yeah.
Make my mind.
You sleep with it.
I'm gonna go get this.
I got mine right here. Fix it there.
Did you file out your papers?
Here's that. Come on, it's got a leak.
I like you to ask you. Gotta be sure you vote right.
Oh, I know what my constituents, I've already talked to.
Okay, we're gonna take this up next Tuesday. We're gonna take this up next Tuesday. As it stands, I do not break this tie, so we will decide next Tuesday. Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion.
It was a tie.